What is up? I'm bringing the extra energy today. Got to get Brad hyped up here. We know the stoic Kraig, um, but we gotta get Brad pumped up here. Maybe I need to send you over one of these Ghost Energy drinks, get you popping after that long day at the Renaissance Fair or Pioneer Fair or whatever it was.
Is Ghost the special sponsor of this episode? Is that what we're doing?
Hey,
We're
you
getting
know
Ghost
what?
Energy.
Everybody knows when we first started RotoHeat, I was pumping the old bang about every episode of any show that I was doing. Couldn't get them to support us. So I moved on to C4. And then my local gas station didn't have any one day, and I bought one of these orange creamsicle ghosts, and it's been on since, and they're hard to find. But yeah, so not sponsored yet, but I should probably reach out to them.
Well, we like
Bang
ghosts
should have.
too, so
What's that?
we like ghosts here too. So
Yeah, they're good. They're good. I don't know if you like this orange cream flavor, but it's my favorite out of all the energy drinks. But I mean, guys, we've had a very strange first 2 weeks in the NFL. It's been it's been different. I think we've seen some extensive injuries that I think we say this every year, like it always feels like there's a lot, but I don't know, this year feels different to me, at least since we started doing Roto Heat and we started doing streams. The injuries, we see a lot of running backs and stuff, but like we've seen some serious stuff. And the news came out today that it looks like Nick Chubb only messed up his MCL and is only on a 6 to 8 month recovery period, which seems amazing to me, and I love to see because Nick Chubb is maybe the best pure runner in the NFL. So, did you guys see that news? And
yep.
and what are you doing right now with Nick Chubb if you have him in a dynasty league?
I mean, the tough thing is he's getting older, right? Like, so you're probably, even with this injury, what are we thinking? He's probably got another 2 to 3 years of strong production, hopefully. I mean, running back shelf life is so tough in the first place. I wouldn't be selling him short right now. Like, I would not sell cheap. I would just put him on IR and hope that I can fill that void. Although Nick Chubb was probably most people's RB1. So I'm holding because every trade offer I've seen in any league has been way too low. Like, I'll just throw him on IR and see what happens next year.
Is that what you're doing, Kraig?
I guess it depends on where my team is at. And I don't know the usage numbers like you do, Rick, but if you're looking at his NFL career, he's had a little over 1,200 rushing attempts over, so it would be year 7 for him, and 123 receptions. And then going back to college, he had 758 rushing attempts in 4 years at Georgia. So he's had quite a bit of usage. He's going to be 28 all of next year. If you're a contender, I don't see why you would move on from him unless you're blown away. But if you're in that little gray area, yeah, I'd probably like to sell him, but you have to be realistic about what you'd get because, to Brad's point, no one's going to be blowing you away with an offer at this point for him. And that's the tough thing.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you guys, but if I'm a team that feels like I'm bottom half of the league, I'm probably taking a second rounder if that does come through, for if somebody thinks that they can hold out till next year. And the reason why I'm willing to sell a little short of what you would think is we still just don't know how. That's not the first major injury he's had to a knee.
Yep.
Wasn't it
all
the
the
same
touches
knee?
you've
It was the
do what?
same knee.
Yeah, wasn't it the same knee in
Okay,
college?
so
Yep.
same knee and all the touches you've talked about, and then just the age, everything else like that. We don't know what that return's going to look like. We don't know if he's going to be even near the same player going forward, even though the timeline isn't, it's not career ending like some thought it may be when you first seen that. That was a crazy injury. It looked nasty. Obviously, they wouldn't even show the replay on TV. So yeah, I mean, right now I would be looking to get out and going towards the end of his career. But I'd rather get out now and get something than if it doesn't work out for him. Unfortunately, I hope that's not the case, but I'd rather not get zero. Dog says, I got 2 questions. First, Dalvin Cook or Khalil Herbert? Which one of those are you starting, Kraig?
Khalil Herbert. You know, Roshan Johnson's had a couple nice weeks for a rookie anyway, but Khalil Herbert still seems to be ahead of him. And with Dalvin Cook, I don't have it in front of me, but I think he's just been yuck this whole year from his on-field performance to what he's done in fantasy, and I don't know how you would trust him. So I would certainly go with Khalil Herbert on that one.
Yeah, I think you have to just because of the opportunity. I mean, the Jets are taking on New England, which is kind of middle of the road right now against the run, but he's just not getting usage. I mean, last week against Dallas, we saw 4 for 7 and then one target, 1 reception, 5 yards. Week 1, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 13 yards, or 13 attempts, 33 yards. I mean, it's hard to trust. Now, if Breece Hall doesn't go, which I think Breece Hall's fine, if I remember correctly, now he's completely healthy, so it's hard to trust him. Where Herbert, you would think that Chicago, and obviously I would lean on you on this one, Rick. You know your team better than anybody. I would think they're still going to involve him and Roshan pretty heavily to help get this offense moving, and they have a better matchup this week than the Jets do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think Roshan, this could be the week that he takes over and touches. But it's going to be both of them for now. It's not going to just be Roshan. And, it's no Foreman probably. I'm sure he's going to be a healthy scratch again tomorrow. And they're both going to get touches. And I think they're going to they only ran the ball with the running backs 11 times last week. We had this conversation the first 6 weeks of last year, like, what are they doing? Their offensive game plans just don't make any sense. And now, hopefully, after the turmoil that we saw in Chicago this week, they go back to what they did in that 5-week stretch from 7 to 11 last year that started with the New England game that had them scoring 30 points a game. And I don't know why they didn't stick with that when they had all their healthy receivers. The offense kind of tailed off after Darnell Mooney got hurt last year, and your number 1 receiver was Equanimeous St. Brown or Dante Pettis, pick one, whichever one you want, but it wasn't pretty, right? And I don't know why they went back, but they have to run the ball more. They both need to get more touches. They need to balance that offense, and especially if you want to have any chance of beating the Chiefs tomorrow, you have to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. You can't be just dropping back and passing all the time. So I'm with you guys. I am going Khalil Herbert, but Roshan is, I think, going to lead the backfield tomorrow. But Dalvin Cook has been just hot garbage so far, but he's still getting his legs under him. Didn't really have an off season. So we'll see how that goes as the season progresses. Right now, I am going Khalil Herbert. Second, Kmet or Laporta. Now, you're the Detroit guy. You going Laporta over Kmet?
I mean, Kmet's still gotten more targets, right? Like I think he's got 13, and I think Laporta has 11 or 12. I mean, so they're pretty close when it comes to that, but against Atlanta, I would lean Laporta just because I think that's a more favorable matchup for a tight end. Kansas City's linebacking core is really good, and they do a good job covering tight ends. So, and who knows? It's hard to trust what Chicago's going to do with the offense week to week. Detroit, I feel good about Laporta at least still getting the 5 to 6 targets. Hopefully he turns it into a little bit more, and I think he's a better athlete than Kmet. I mean, they're probably similar, but I still think Laporta's got the edge.
No, I think,
which is weird.
I think Laporta's a better athlete. I do think Laporta's a better athlete. No,
and I don't typically trust rookie tight ends, but it looks like Detroit's continuing to get him involved heavily, and he's probably option number 2A, 2B in the passing game for them. So I'd go with Laporta over Kmet just because I feel better about that offense against Atlanta this week.
Kraig, you agreeing with Laporta over Kmet?
From what we've seen out of the two of them, it's easily Laporta for me.
I'm with you guys. I think after just watching that week 1 game for Detroit, like they lean on him in high leverage situations, and that's what you want to see out of a rookie tight end. When they're trusting you in those situations, as the season progresses, he's probably going to get worked in more and more in between the 20s and in early downs, and that helps take pressure. They need to do that anyway, right? the way they were using Amon-Ra, like that's just not sustainable because teams are just going to key on him. So they need other guys to step up. Last week it was Josh Reynolds. Maybe this week it's Laporta, and that's going to help their entire offense. So I'm with you guys until we see that 30-point, weekly output by Chicago, where during that stretch, Kmet had 5 touchdowns, right? Like he was a big part of the red zone. Mm-hmm. But until we see that, like I'm going with Laporta as well.
The thing that doesn't make any sense is how did Hawkinson not be successful when Laporta isn't that much of a different tight end? I mean, that's the thing that doesn't make any sense to me.
I didn't understand why they traded him last year. It didn't make any sense to me, and why they traded him in division boggled my mind. But there must have been something there. Like they must not have got along. He must not have been Campbell's type of guy. Maybe he didn't have the mentality that Campbell wanted. I don't know, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So Zach says hello. He is the fantasy football Chupapi.
Hi, Chupapi.
And he's willing to do a Q&A. So Zach, you can email me, Rick at RotoHeat. You're definitely not coming on until I know who you are. We've tried that before. It did not work in our favor.
Even when you know who they are, sometimes it doesn't work. So.
Yeah, that is true too. True. So Adam says, living in Cincinnati, vibes have been leaning towards Burrow not playing. If Burrow doesn't go, who do I start in PPR flex spot? T. Higgins, Rachaad White, Tutu Atwell, or Sky Moore? I still think that Higgins is fine here, right? Like he's going to get targets. They're throwing the ball quite a bit. They're probably still going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. I'm probably going to Higgins. If not, I'm going White.
Yeah, I was leaning White just because I think he's got a really good opportunity. I mean, we saw last week got, close to 20 carries, plus he got targets, plus he got a touchdown. I mean,
plus it was against the Bears defense that sucks totally.
That was my concern. And they're playing Philly this week, which is a world of difference from Chicago.
Philly can help it with getting more receiving work, but like the rushing yards might be like 19.
Yeah.
Do we trust Jake Browning though? Because isn't he the backup in Cincy?
They just signed McCarron, so I don't know. I mean, if they're going to go with the veteran that they know, or if they're going to go with Browning. I don't think they've said because, well, the coach there, Taylor, even said, "Oh, we're going to list him as questionable and see how it goes Monday." So I don't think they know what they're doing.
I guess this is what I would say. Like, if you're worried about that and you're worried about who's starting that Cincinnati game, I would treat it like Burrow's not going to start because you're not going to. You can't wait till Monday night and then start. I would think White. I don't. Kraig, who are you going in this situation? Are you going T. Higgins no matter what? Or are you going with White or somebody else?
Yeah, I'm not, because of the matchup, I'm not going with White. He'd probably be my choice if I had to go with someone else. But it's not like the Rams have been atrocious and not moving the ball. I mean, they've had a very functional NFL offense so far this year, and meanwhile the Bengals haven't looked like what we thought. So I think the Rams are going to be able to move the ball, and that Cincinnati is going to have to be able to move the ball, and that is throwing it. They're more susceptible through the air than they are the ground, there being the Rams. So I think they're going to have to throw, and T. Higgins, he would be a wide receiver 1 on a lot of teams. I still think you got to start him.
Marco from the future said, good morning. I love it. Then tomorrow he'll be in here at 9 a.m. our time, my time, and he'll be like, good evening. Ryan Kennedy says, start Tua or Trevor Lawrence. Also, start Watson if healthy or Mike Williams. All right, okay, so I'm assuming this is a Christian Watson versus Mike Williams, and then obviously Tua Lawrence. Kraig, who are you starting here at quarterback?
I'm still going with Tua. I mean, so far this year, he's looked better than Trevor Lawrence has. He's got those great weapons. He has, to me, a better play calling offensive system there. I know a lot of people are excited about year 2 of Doug Peterson, but we haven't seen it in, last week. And then there's part of that first game where it didn't look great either. Meanwhile, Tua sort of picked up right where he left off before he had gotten hurt. So give me Tua.
I mean, I don't love Tua's matchup against Denver as much as I love Trevor's against Houston, but I'd probably still lean Tua as well. just because for some reason Trevor's looked off the first 2 weeks of the year. So, yeah, I'd probably agree Tua.
Well, and remember, the Commanders moved the ball all over Denver last week. So if the Commanders can do it, I think that Miami's probably going to have some success.
Yeah, I'm going Tua as well. I think Tua is just as long as he's healthy, I'm trying to fit him in there. Probably on a weekly basis, he'd probably average around my 4th or 5th QB right now with the way they're just putting up yards and numbers.
And then Mike Williams for the other one. I mean,
I forgot.
They're going against Minnesota, so I'm perfectly fine starting Mike Williams, and he probably gets you high-end wide receiver 2, maybe even low-end wide receiver 1 production. Who knows?
Yeah. Is that who you're going with, Kraig?
Yes, Mike Williams.
Yeah, I think we're going to be starting a lot of guys against the Vikings this year. I think that's going to be a common theme as we go throughout the season. I'm going with Williams as well. Joshua says, Goff, Geno, MT, or McLaurin at the flex. I'm in a double QB league. So
Geno's going against Carolina. Goff's got Atlanta.
I mean, I think I'm going Goff here no matter what in a double QB. I think Goff. I have Goff ahead of Geno. I'm going Goff myself.
So it's one of those 4 for the flex.
That's how I'm reading it. Is it's one of those 4.
I would go Goff as well.
Yep.
Sweep on the Goff train. Marco from the future says, got Reed, Dell, Addison, Cooks, Sky Moore, Dotson, Hollins, start 3 in a 0.5 PPR. So Jaden Reed, Tank Dell, Jordan Addison, Brandon Cooks, Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, and Mac Hollins. We got to start 3. I think, are we all going to agree on Dotson and Addison?
Yeah, I'd say Tank Dell would be the other one for me. But yes, I would agree.
Yeah, I agree with those 2 out of the group for the for sures.
Now, Tank Dell, if it was a full PPR, I think he would easily be my other one. But in a 0.5 PPR, I might lean Jaden Reed here.
That's what I was going to look up here quick because I have to hear the Packer games living in Wisconsin all the time. I know that he's been getting a lot of attention from Jordan Love with Christian Watson out.
Yeah, he got 8 targets last week, 5 week 1. Tank Dell had 10 last week and 4 week 1. I mean, so it's similar target share.
Yeah, I just see more touchdown upside with Green Bay than I do with Houston.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay is going against New Orleans, so that'll be a tough matchup because he'll probably. Well, I haven't checked matchups yet, but
looks like Watson's gonna play.
So he's probably
getting Lattimore.
Houston has Jacksonville. Yeah,
I'm okay with either. Defense is a pushover either.
Not particularly, but Nico will be taken by the number 1. Robert Woods is probably going to get most of the other outside looks, and then Tank Dell's kind of your in-the-middle guy. So I'd be okay with either Reed or Tank Dell. I'm fine with.
Yeah, flip a coin for me out of those 2, I guess.
I'm going to pick Reed just for touchdown upside, and obviously he's already been a big red zone presence for them. That's true. Okay, roll with Mostert, Javonte, or Breece in PPR. We can't go away from Mostert right now, can we?
I think he's the hot hand.
Yeah, and he's been great, and again, touchdown upside. Broncos offense doesn't excite me right now, and the Jets with Zach Wilson doesn't excite me right now. So I'm going Raheem here.
Yeah, I mean, he's healthy, which has always been his big thing. If he's healthy, he's productive.
All right.
Craig's thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, Mostert's the hot hand, and he's probably in the best offense right now, although the Denver offense is putting up a lot of stats. I mean, Russell Wilson's for fantasy at least, doing fantastic, which is great to see. But Javonte, they're still sort of splitting that, and he hasn't been amazing yet. And to your point, it's just hard to trust the Jets with Zach Wilson. So yeah.
All right, you guys can answer this one. Josh Sweat or Burns?
If Burns healthy, I'm never not starting him. Yep, he's going to play week 3, so it's always Brian Burns for me.
And I know that Seattle's offensive line performed better than people expected, but they still have a whole bunch of backups and a makeshift offensive line that can fall apart at any time. And Burns, to your point, Brad, is a few levels above Josh Sweat for me. So Burns as well.
So Zach says you go into Monday night and play either Tutu or Higgins. I'm in that scenario. I'm never picking Tutu. So that's what I was referring to with, if you want to play White, he's my number 2 out of those 4, then you got to play him and just act like Burrow's not playing. If not, I'm playing Higgins no matter what. So that's what I was referring to, because he asked what you mean and then this, and I'm not playing Tutu over Higgins though. We're not there yet. Holland, Duggar, or Brisker? Start 2 of those. And this is a good question for me because I have Duggar and Brisker on my team, and I'm not knowing where to go with this one. But
Holland is always a must start for me, and then I'd probably go Brisker with the other one. But I'm okay with Brisker or Duggar.
Rick, do you know, because I'm trying to look it up, is Brisker healthy? Because I know he got
Brisker, that was illness when he sat out during that game, and then he came back, and Eddie Jackson is ruled out.
Yeah, I know Jackson's out. Yeah, I'm going Brisker then. You know, Duggar's an interesting thing where he's one of those really great safeties, but he's not being used in a way right now that's really fantasy friendly. If you look at for the year, he has 5 and 3 combined tackles in the 2 games, and that's with 100% snap share, both of those. You look at what they're doing this week. I think it's the Jets, we said, against the Patriots. I don't expect that to be a high-scoring game because the Patriots' offense just isn't built that way. And if they don't have to be, they're going to be run-focused. They're going to have issues with the Jets' defense. And the Jets, I don't think, are going to have a lot of big plays and making a lot of noise against that Patriots defense. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game with fewer opportunities. So give me Brisker and Holland.
Sweet. The Joker. Hey, welcome back. Full PPR. Choose one for the flex. Jerome Ford, Alexander Madison, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Algier. I have Raheem Mostert in my only running back spot. Brad, where are you going here?
I'm going Jerome Ford. I know they just signed Kareem Hunt, but it's going to take him a little bit of time to get back into game shape. So Ford will get those initial looks this week. After this week, then I'd probably play the matchups or see what they're going to do.
Kraig, do you know where you're going, or you want me to go first?
Go first, because I'm pulling up a stat that I saw earlier.
I'm going Jacoby Myers fairly easily on this one. I understand the Jerome Ford stuff, but the Titans have literally just
that's what I was pulling
killed
up.
All fantasy value for any running back they've faced this year. And they were the number 1 defense against the run last year, so it's not like it's a just luck for the first 2 weeks, right? This has been ongoing from 2022 into 2023. I have decided, like B-tier running backs and below, I'm just not going to play against them if I have another option. Alexander Madison has just been absolutely atrocious. And Jacoby Myers in that first game with Jimmy Garoppolo was outstanding. And his metrics, everything from that game, he was second to only Tyreek Hill in week 1. I think he's going to get a bunch of targets. If I wasn't starting Jacoby, I'd go Tyler Algier here.
That was what I was looking at. And to your point, because I saw this was from Drew Davenport. He's at Drew Davenport FF on Twitter. The Titans have allowed just 98 rushing yards to date in 2 full games. They're allowing 7.9 fantasy points per game to running back so far, first in the league. I get people like Jerome Ford because, with that big run and all this and that, he's taken over for Chubb. That's a dysfunctional offense, and they're going against a great run defense. I'm not starting Ford. And to your point, Rick, with what we saw out of Myers with Garoppolo, give me him, and if not, Algier, because at least we know he's going to be getting touches in a run-heavy offense.
And to the counterpoint, I mean, the running backs they've faced through the first 2 weeks are not the starters for most teams, right? They had
neither is
Jamal
Jerome
Williams. Right,
Ford.
yes, I agree. But at least Ford looks like he can fit in this offense, can catch balls out of the backfield as well. You know, the Chargers ran out there Josh Kelly, which we know Rick loves, and then Jamal Williams, who got banged up. So for me, I'm going with the guy that I think has the most upside. Jacoby Myers I like as well. Pittsburgh's defense is a little different when it comes to how they handle the receiver. So I think Jacoby Myers should be able to produce well because they'll be focusing on other players. But I'm definitely not starting Tyler Algier and Madison, at least at this point.
Tyler Algier is somebody that's still hard for me not to put in my lineup. He's still a guy that's going to get a bunch of touches. Very effective.
I like him.
Alec, what's up, man? Albert, welcome back. We love when you show up, Albert. You're always in here supporting the channel. He needs a full PPR flex spot. James Cook, George Pickens, or Nico Collins. Right now, I don't know. I'm not even a big James Cook fan, but I think I got to go James Cook here. Getting work, catching the ball a little bit, getting most of the running back carries. I think Pickens is going to be, if he continues to get the volume that he got last week, then he's going to move into a weekly starter spot for me. But I still think he's kind of in that Mike Williams boomer bust week-to-week category. And then Nico, obviously, getting a bunch of targets, red zone threat for the Texans. Again, I just don't know how much touchdown upside they have. So I'm going with Cook here. You're shaking your head. Is that who you're going with, Brad?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a big James Cook fan, but I'm also a big Nico fan. Like, if y'all saw the short this week, I said trade for Nico. Like, he's clearly their top receiver, and C.J. Stroud likes him. I mean, the guy's getting 9 targets each week. I mean, it's really nice, but how can you beat James Cook's production? Washington defense is not. It's not like it's stout against running backs, so James Cook should be able to produce pretty well. So I would agree, although I do love Pickens as well. It's almost like, well, this is a good problem to have for Albert because these are all solid plays either way.
It's Cook or Nico for me, and at least James Cook. There, he's going to be getting it as a main running back there. We really saw him sort of break out in that role last week against the Raiders. And Nico Collins, as much as I like what I've seen out of him, it's still at Houston offense, and it could just fall apart pretty easily at any point. So give me Cook.
There you go, Albert. Go get that win, sir.
Okay, back to, dang it, I lost my spot. Then we got Marco from the future, Brandon Johnson or Ivan Pace.
I like Ivan Pace.
I'd like to know a lot more about scoring and your league setup and what you have to start and all this and that. I think it's more likely that Brandon Johnson ends up being a flash in the pan compared to Ivan Pace. Ivan Pace, we saw him be a monster in college. It's just that old thing we see sometimes with players going into the NFL draft where, oh, you're too slow, you're too small. We see undrafted linebackers make noise every year in the NFL, and Ivan Pace has found himself a home and almost supplanted. I mean, he has so far. We'll see if it's the rest of the season. Brian Asamoah for the Vikings.
Snap count. Wasn't he like 80% snaps last week? I mean, he's really pushing that defense well. And, and I mean, think about it. When Jerry Jeudy comes back, what is Brandon Johnson going to get you? I mean, probably a very significantly small amount of snaps, where Ivan Pace, I mean, he could continue to boom. And in IDP, I mean, if you can find a nice guy like this to stash, you come out and you look like a very smart GM when you can grab one of these undrafted guys and then he booms for you. So I'm all
depending on what you got, you might not even need to stash him. You just might be able to start him right away.
Yeah, isn't he the one you told me to pick up after week 1?
Yeah.
In my league, Craig, I got him, just so you know. So I appreciate it. Gemini Man says, start Russell Wilson or Jordan Love in a full PPR.
I will go Russell Wilson. Again, stat-wise for fantasy football, he's been great. Garbage time counts the same, what we saw against the Commanders that week, and I'm going back and I can't even find it, but I don't think he had bad stats the first week. And he's right up there. I think he's in the top 10 in quarterbacks for full PPR, where Jordan Love, he's had some nice games, but, you sort of saw what that defense runs in, that Packers offense runs into when they get a competent defense, where they just fell apart in that fourth quarter when they were up by like 12 or something in the fourth quarter against the Falcons and just blew it. They couldn't move the ball at all. So I do like Jordan Love, but Russell Wilson's a little bit more proven to me. And I don't know which one is more likely to catch their own pass for the PPR part, but
yeah, I'm also on the Russell Wilson train in this one. The Saints defense is solid, right? Like it's, one of the, I think when you look at like PFF grades, they're one of the top, 10 defenses in the league currently. Jordan Love still is learning and developing. Could he be a superstar? Sure, but he's not now. Russell Wilson certainly isn't, but he's at least producing and giving you consistent production. So I'm all over the Russell Wilson train for now.
Okay, we've got a super chat in here. I'm going Russell Wilson as well for everything that you guys said. So I don't have anything to add there. But remember that Saif is next in line, but the Dazed Fool dropping that $5 super chat. We appreciate you jumping to the front of the line. We got a 12-team full PPR double flex start 2. Hopkins, Flowers, Gus the Bus, Pierce, wide receiver 1, 2, Chase Olave, running back 1, 2, James Cook, and Kelly. So out of these 4 players, which 2 are you going to start, Kraig? Hopkins, Flowers, Gus the Bus, and Pierce.
So I'm going back to look because I already forgot who the Chargers play, and I have it pulled up. I just have to find them. Minnesota. Oh, that's a little bit better than what I thought. I'm going to go Gus Edwards for one of them. It seems like he's just going to be the clear-cut running back there. I think Justice Hill's banged up and not expected to play. That offense has been humming. So give me Gus. I like Zay Flowers a lot, and how he's been created targets. They're manufacturing stuff specifically for him in that offense. It's really exciting. I like him, but it's really hard for me to sit DeAndre Hopkins. And Cleveland, if they have competent teams going against them, they've had different quarterback problems with probably not really healthy Joe Burrow in a really weird weather game. And then they had Kenny Pickett in the just inept Steelers offense. I really don't want to start the 2 Ravens. I'm tempted to, but that's putting a lot of eggs in one basket. So give me Gus and give me Hopkins.
Man, Hopkins has got a tough one, though. Cleveland is just really good in coverage. Yeah, I'm going Gus as well for sure.
I wouldn't blame you for starting Flowers, but that's just a lot of eggs in a Ravens basket.
Yeah, you're hoping. I mean, I would probably go Gus and Flowers, but I would agree. I typically, when I'm setting lineups, I try not to start too many guys from the same team if the matchup is even remotely concerning. But yeah, give me both of them. Why not? Roll the dice.
Yeah, I'm going with Gus. He's obviously the easy one out of here. We know that he's got multi-touchdown upside at the running back position with everybody else injured. I mean, hopefully we don't see this Melvin Gordon 15 touch week. Like that would ruin everything. But yeah, I'm going with him, and then I'm going with Hopkins. The only reason why I'm not going Flowers here is just because I feel like most of their touchdown equity goes to the running backs. And if I'm going to bet on Gus, then I don't want to bet on one of the receivers in the same lineup if I don't have to. And Hopkins is a good enough option to get off of that. Want to say hey to our friends over there at Football Guys. Thanks for dropping in. They saying good evening, guys. Make sure you guys support the Football Guys wherever they are. Twitter, website, YouTube, all the words. Now I got to find where I left off here. Okay, Saif had a long question, one long enough to cover up Kraig's face. Should I trade Stevenson, Gibbs, Christian Kirk for Cooper Kupp, Mostert, and Zay Flowers? Team will be Kirk Cousins, Bijan, Mostert, A.J. Brown, Godwin, Goddard, Zay Flowers till Kupp comes back. PPR. So, Brad, I see you shaking your head. Tell us what you're thinking.
I mean, I see Gibbs there, and I see Christian Kirk, who could be, with the way his roster's built, I mean, he's got strong receivers where I'm okay with Kirk being, your wide receiver 3, because you may or may not, depending on your starting limits, he may be your guy that's kind of a depth piece. But Stevenson and Gibbs are solid running backs. I mean, but you got Bijan. Oh, if you're trying to win a championship, I guess I go with the Mostert Cup side, because then if Cup comes back at some point this year, then come playoff time, I mean, your team looks a lot better. But if you're kind of in the middle of the road, I would lean Gibbs and Stevenson just because of the upside. It just depends on the way where you're at in your league and your roster construction.
Kraig, what are you thinking here?
So over on YouTube, I tagged him. I don't know if he's still around. I hope you are, to not only hear our answer, but to, this matters for me a little bit more if it's Dynasty or redraft. If it's Dynasty, there's no way I'm trading the Stevenson and Gibbs side for Kupp and Mostert, who are a good bit older. I do like the Zay Flowers upgrade over Christian Kirk, but Kirk, A.J. Brown. I'd keep the side that you have. I like those running backs, and you just don't know about Kupp. And as much as we like Mostert and we see him off to a hot start, we've seen that for him before. He hasn't been a bastion of good health in his career, and I'd have a hard time putting all my eggs in that basket the rest of the year.
This is easily keeping the side you've got, because there's another level to Cooper Kupp that nobody is talking about right now. I think everybody still expects, if he returns, to be the target hog that he was. But there is a new target hog in this LA Rams offense named Puka, and Matt Stafford trusts him, right? Like, he's not going to go to zero. Tutu has performed well. He's not going to go to zero. I don't think Cooper Kupp comes back and gets the same volume that he got before, especially with them. If this is a degenerative problem he's got, as has been rumored, then they're probably going to limit the routes that he's running, right? They're going to use him in high leverage situations. He's probably not going to be on the field as much, at least for this year, as they're trying to keep him from re-injuring it. I just think that if, for this year, I want that side with Stevenson Gibbs. I think Gibbs is going to be huge, and he's only going to get used more and more, especially Montgomery's out. We know that. But, even if Montgomery was still playing, we still expected Gibbs to continue to get more and more work as the season went on. And I just feel like you're taking a way bigger risk with Kupp and Mostert than you need to with this roster. I think I stick with Stevenson and Gibbs. And then maybe you look to upgrade with Kirk. If he has another big week this week, like he did last week, then maybe you can pair him and somebody else and upgrade at wide receiver. But I'm not taking the risk on Kupp. I love Kupp. I hope he comes back healthy. I'm not taking that risk. And then we know Mostert's just made of glass, man. That dude looks good every time he's on the field. Then
enjoy him while you got him. Yep. That's right.
Patty says Watson or Goff this week.
Goff
for me as well. Until we see Watson improve.
Like hot trash.
Yeah. It's just, and this is what I was worried about before last year, was if this guy was going to be able to come back from all the nonsense. Dynasty, 3 wide receivers, 3 flex. Do I start Josh Reynolds, Shaheed, or JSN?
I think you got to start Shaheed. He's been like, Derek Carr loves him, which is weird because they've really got some really good receivers there, and they're all getting targeted. So, but yeah,
man, it's hard for me not to go Josh Reynolds here, because as we talked earlier, he seems to be right in line with that, option 2A, really 2A right now. And then, Laporta may move into 2B, but he's also a red zone threat for them. And we saw 2 touchdowns last week. We saw some missed opportunities in week 1 where they didn't connect, but where Goff was leaning on Reynolds. Shaheed almost has to be a deep touchdown, right? When they get into the red zone, they're looking at Michael Thomas, they're looking at Juwan Johnson. Olave's probably ahead of him. So he's got a lot of touchdown competition in that Saints offense, where I think Reynolds, it's literally St. Brown, then Reynolds, maybe / Laporta, and in the passing game. So I'm gonna go Josh Reynolds here. Obviously, JSN's the best talent out of the three, but
Easily.
he's also going into his third game, has two professional good receivers ahead of him with Lockett and DK. So I'm going Josh Reynolds here.
Yeah, I mean, to support you, I would expect Reynolds to probably get 6 targets this week, right? And there's potential for a touchdown, maybe even 2, like last week. Shaheed, you're probably, he's the ceiling play, right? Like if he has a chance of getting you more yardage with a touchdown, but that's, you're hoping for the big play. So I'm with you. I'm okay with Reynolds. I'm picking Shaheed, but I understand your thinking.
Patty says, start 2, Aaron Jones, Kelly, James Conner. For me, this is easy. For one, Aaron Jones, if he's healthy, he's a must start for me. He's probably a top 12 running back in that offense. They're going to lean on him. And A.J. Dillon has been pretty hot trash this year. And then for me, James Conner, again, I think is borderline top 12 every week. Too many dump offs. I'm going with them too. I could see going Kelly over Conner if you really like the matchup, but I don't think I'm there yet myself.
So Jones returned in a limited session on Thursday, which gives him a chance to play this weekend.
I think they expect what I seen earlier was he was expected to play him and Watson. But
yeah, he's officially questionable, but yes, Aaron Jones is a set it and forget it type player each week this year, and I'm with you. I go Conner as well. Just keep an eye out on the injury report, because if Jones is remotely, if there's any chance he doesn't play, then Kelly, then you.
What time is that Packer game?
I think that's a 1 o'clock. Let me look.
If it's a 1 o'clock, that makes it easy. Yeah, then you don't have to worry about nothing, because I'm sure Arizona is probably a 4 o'clock game, right? Or do they have an early one this week?
Give me a second.
Arizona, I think, might be an early game.
Oh, okay.
No, never mind. It's at the front. It's Dallas. ESPN listed wonky. They're in the afternoon.
Did you answer that, Kraig?
Aaron Jones and Conner. But we go back one question quick, because I was trying to pull something up here, because you guys were talking about Shaheed and Reynolds. Reynolds is questionable, looking like maybe he'll play, but he has a groin injury that he's been working through, which has him limited. And Shaheed is limited too. We sort of know that in terms of the amount of playing time that he gets in targets with Michael Thomas and Chris Olave there. But one thing I want to say about Derek Carr, throughout his career, he hasn't been known as a big guy throwing the deep ball and that sort of stuff. But right now he leads, I know we're only 2 games into it, leads the NFL in completions of 37 yards or more. He has 4 attempts of 37.5 air yards. That's second in the league. He is letting it loose a little bit more now that he has more than one weapon to do that with. Previously it was sort of Devontae Adams. He's got guys that can make it happen. Shaheed is not drawing coverage. He's getting that third guy with Olave and Michael Thomas there. So, yeah, you're sort of banking on maybe a long ball or 2 for him to score, but I think the chances of that are better than a lot of people would like to think. So, again, I see the Josh Reynolds sort of attraction there, Rick, but with him sort of banged up, I'm a little bit more interested in Shaheed in that matchup.
No strong argument against Shaheed for me. Definitely an option. And I think he is the upside play, right? Like he could go for, 130 and 2 touchdowns and only have 4 catches or 3 catches.
Yeah.
Yes. I think I can speak for everybody here. You're starting Amon-Ra every week. You are not starting any of these 3 guys over Amon-Ra.
Correct.
Who says, I was just offered Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Myers, and Javonte Williams for my James Conner and Terry McLaurin. Is this a W? Redraft half PPR. I'm taking it.
Yeah,
I think
I would be fine with that. Yep, I'd be fine with that.
Jalen Waddle over Terry McLaurin, and I think as the season progresses, Javonte catches up to Connor, and you're basically getting a free Jacoby Myers here.
Yeah, why not?
Touchdown says, someone sent me a trade offer. I get Kupp and Josh Reynolds, but I have to give up Mixon and Scary Terry. Should I accept? Thoughts?
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'd rather hold with what you got. I mean, if it's redraft, 100%. If it's Dynasty, I understand why you might consider Kupp, but I still like Terry a little bit longer term. Mixon, I mean, he could be done a year or two, but Josh Reynolds could be done in 4 or 5 weeks. If J-Mo comes back and they start to bring him in, he's healthy and been in the system for a little while now. I mean, Josh Reynolds could wind up slowly disappearing when it comes to target share. So
yeah, I was going to say long-term Josh Reynolds has a lot working against him. He's got J-Mo coming back, and he's got Laporta that is going to continue to improve and at the professional level. Both of those things hurt Reynolds long-term, and hell, who knows? Every time we think Marvin Jones is done, he comes out and has a 3-week stretch with, 4 touchdowns in 3 weeks, and there's always that opportunity too. And then we've already talked about Kupp, so I'm with you. I'm sticking with Mixon and Scary Terry.
And Kraig agrees, I guess.
Yep, I did.
Okay.
Ricky Double A, how's it going? Hollywood, Josh Reynolds, Jacoby Myers. Pick one. Kraig, we're going to have you go first on this one. How about that?
That's fine. Who are the Raiders playing again here? Keep losing my scoreboard. Raiders
I'm going to go with
Monday night or Sunday night?
Sunday night.
Sunday night against the Steelers. I don't like Hollywood, even with Trayvon Diggs out for the Cowboys. I really don't like the Hollywood play there a whole lot. Give me Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with him. I mean, Dallas is just so good in coverage right now, so I'd probably lean Myers.
Yeah, I'm gonna be going Myers here for sure. I don't want any piece of passing games with backup quarterbacks versus the Cowboys, even with Diggs out. They put too much pressure on. Hollywood's probably going to get a lot of targets, but I don't know how high the value those targets are going to be because he is clearly the best receiving option for that team. I like Connor more with the dump offs than I do any of the receivers getting targets from Josh Dobbs versus Micah Parsons. I don't want no part of that. Joe Burrow or Derek Carr? I think you just start Derek Carr. You don't want to wait till Monday night.
Yep.
The Who says he's keeping his guys as well, so he agreed with us. Kirk Cousins or Josh Allen? It's Josh Allen. We're not there yet.
Yeah, it's got to be Josh Allen.
I don't think we're there yet.
And we do
Maybe
have
you
a
can
super
convince
chat
me.
as well.
No, we just saw Buffalo, or not, excuse me, that is Buffalo. We just saw Denver put up huge numbers against that Commanders defense. I mean, you can move the ball on them, and I think at this point we'd still think that Buffalo has a better offense than Denver. So,
okay, so I'm going through these questions, find where I lead off because we had some questions asked multiple times. You guys only got to ask them once. We go in order unless there's a super chat, which we have one right now that we're going to get to. But where did my spot go? Pet, P-E-Y-T is the next one that is up. But we're going to go down here to Tyler, and he says, would you guys start Godwin or Pittman or get Kirk? Problem is I already have Ingram and Ridley. For me, you guys know, you can probably answer for everybody who I'm putting in this lineup.
Pittman,
easy.
Pittman.
Put him in there.
100%.
Notre Dame has the ball with a minute and a half to go. I'm so excited if we win this game.
Yeah, they stopped. They had a Ohio State had a wide receiver run for it on 4th and 1 at like the 11. of Notre Dame, and they stopped him.
And unfortunately,
Nice.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is hurt. So
No, I don't want to see that.
well, it sounded like it was a rolled ankle. So that can't be.
So
good.
I'm going Pittman. Brad's going Pittman. Did you say Pittman as well, Kraig?
Yeah, and I still don't have a ton of interest in Kirk until we see more out of him being consistently used in that offense.
Zay Jones got banged up in that game too, didn't he? Didn't he
but
leave
I think
for
he's supposed
concussion
to
protocol?
play. I think he's
right,
playing.
but I mean, last week when
Yeah.
Kirk got all those targets, I think Zay got knocked out of the game with the concussion. I think Zay's the number 2 there if he's healthy and on the field. Tyler, we really appreciate you in the super chat. Thank you very much,
My man.
Again, everybody, we are all the way back at questions asked at 10:04.
Hold on, Rick. I was incorrect about something. Zay Jones will be out this week.
He is out.
Out with a knee injury.
I'm still going Pittman over.
Yep.
Over those
I still am too, but that for future reference because I wasn't aware of that. Kirk
that
is a better play with Jones
good
out.
To know. Should I add any of these guys over Hunter Henry? I have Hawkinson, Roschon Johnson, Devon Achane, Elijah Moore, Treylon Burks. I think me and Brad are going to be in unison here.
I mean, I'd consider adding. I guess again, I'm assuming this is all redraft unless people state otherwise, since this is redraft season. But Roschon, Achane, or Burks, I'd all have some interest in. I know Hunter Henry has started off hot to the year, but you only probably really need one tight end. It doesn't say it's tight end premium, so any of those other guys outside of Elijah Moore, just because that offense, I'd have some interest in over Hunter Henry.
Yeah, this is Roschon for me again. I think he's going to be getting a lot of touches and a lot of work in the pass game because he does the one thing that Herbert doesn't do well, and that's pass block. He is, I think, rated 5th by PFF so far throughout the season on pass blocking from the running back position. He has allowed 0 pressures. So my boy Roschon's going to be involved in the passing game as the season goes on. I definitely want him. I don't love dropping Hunter Henry, but you're never starting him over Hawkinson unless Hawkinson totally poop dives, but I don't see that happening. Minnesota's going to throw the ball a lot. Jacob says, do I stick with Higgins in PPR or replace him with Lockett? Worried Burrow doesn't play. For me, I'm playing Lockett here over Higgins. Lockett is just consistent. As long as he's healthy, he is one of probably 15 guys that I've got in my lineup every week, no matter what.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen people move the ball through the air on Carolina. J.C. Horn is out. That defense hasn't been what people have expected it to be. The offense hasn't moved the ball a whole lot. Seattle should probably have the ball a good bit. So with the question marks at quarterback, I'm going Lockett too.
Jacob says also, deep league desperation PPR running back, Gainwell or Khalil Herbert?
Herbert.
I'm about to say, is Gainwell healthy? I mean, I don't know that he's let me check and see what we're at with.
I mean, they're both going to be in a timeshare either way, but Herbert is going to be what we've seen, the larger chunk of his timeshare, where who knows, but after what they saw to DeAndre Swift, I'd like to think that they're going to lean more on DeAndre Swift for Philly.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
we don't know. I don't know what Philly's going to do. They said Gainwell was their guy. Obviously, he was out. Obviously, Swift had a big week. That was also against, again, Minnesota. I don't think Gainwell's going to nothing. But I'm going Khalil Herbert here too, just because we know he's going to be involved. He's healthy, and again, the Bears are gonna. I mean, that game could turn into one where the Bears are just in garbage time dump off mode. So that's always positive. Philly's probably not in garbage dump off mode very often this year.
No,
Connor's the only Arizona weapon. Should try to offer for just Waddle. We did this one. That was his super chat.
Yeah.
Right?
And we got some more super chats further down.
We do?
Yep.
Why
Palm
are they not
Tree
showing
and
up?
Tyler again.
Okay. Dang it. 1 second. You guys can read that and answer it. I got to go mark my spot where we left off here.
All right, so full PPR flex, Christian Watson, Jerry Jeudy, or Drake London. Craig, what do you think?
So did we figure out if Jerry Judy's healthy then?
Give me a second, I can look. Jerry Jeudy.
It appears like he's expected to play.
I'm playing London here no matter
I'm
what.
about to say, London's my guy. But yes, it looks like they're hoping to get him more involved against Miami, and it looks like he was good after the Washington game, so in which he saw 5 targets, caught 3 for 25.
People have, at least last week, Seattle moved the ball in the air against Detroit, and Atlanta, when they have to throw the ball, it seems like if there's one guy they're throwing to, it's going to be London, where Watson comes back. He's had a history of injuries. Who knows if he gets injured again? And then we mentioned earlier the cornerback Lattimore he's probably going to be facing. It's one of the tougher ones. So I'd go London as well.
Then Tyler does have a good follow-up question about Pittman with the weather. I did check the weather. They've got Tropical Storm Ophelia's the wind and rain coming towards them. It does look like there's a 90% chance of humidity basically during the game, with winds upwards of gusting at kind of 20, 21 miles an hour. So it's a fair question. Does that affect playing time? Does that affect the ball when they're throwing it to the receivers?
I hate to say this, but Tyler, this would be a great question. Closer to the 1 o'clock, we will be live from 9 a.m. Eastern till 1 p.m. Game locks tomorrow. The weather's tough. What it is now might not be what it is, at game time tomorrow. But until we know it's going to be like a literal torrential downpour, I don't let it affect me too much personally. Craig, you have any extra thoughts on that?
No, I agree with your point. Pay attention to the weather to see how bad it's expected to be. If it does look like it's going to be an issue with Zay Jones out, I would go with Kirk. Godwin in that offense, has been a little bit more upstart than people thought, but they're going against Philly again, which is a lot harder matchup than they've had so far. So Kirk would be my other option if you don't go with Pittman.
Yes, Kirk would be mine in that situation as well. So if the weather does look like it's going to be torrential downpour with really high winds, then yes, I would move off Pittman and go with Kirk. But if it just looks like they can play in the rain, it's if the winds are super high and it's like torrential downpour, then no. So we will have to pay attention to that weather a little bit. JSN, Burks, or Mims start 1 flex PPR.
Probably Burks, I would think, right?
I think that's where I'm at.
Because Mims is going to be tough with Jeudy back and Brandon Johnson and Sutton and, then JSN obviously has, Burks is the number 2 and DeAndre is going to get the number 1 option in the cornerbacks, right, against Cleveland. So he'll get, Denzel Ward would be on him probably. So Burks should have an easier matchup.
I think it's with Martin Emerson's their number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't like any of the options, but Burks.
Sorry, guys. There's 22 seconds left. I'm watching my phone, trying to see the end of this. Okay, we got Javonte Williams or Zach Moss in full PPR. Who do the Colts play? Oh, we just talked about that. If it's a weather game, I'm going with the running back.
Zach Moss, yeah.
Zach Moss
good
tons
too.
of carries.
Yep, Zach Moss.
Yeah, that was we had this talk, right? Week 1, I said, put Zach Moss on there. Deion Jackson was horrific. He didn't look good
and they
at
released
all.
him. Did you
They
see
released
they released
him?
him?
He is done. Zach Moss put the guy into
somewhere Leone is smiling because we're talking about Zach Moss in a positive light.
Yeah, because one game makes a career.
Right.
Well, maybe Zach Moss's career, but
just to say, Javonte's the better talent, but until he's getting all the touches and I mean, that's what Zach Moss is going to get. And he got what, 6 targets? 4 or 6 targets.
He got passing game work, yeah.
Yeah, that's important for me as well. Oh my God, what an end to this game. I'm almost glad I'm not watching it. Need one for my flex. Cooks, Hollins, Pitts, Sky, or Reed, Dell.
I mean, I think we're the Reed, I think you were Reed and I'm
Dell, Reed
right?
Here. Yeah.
So, Kraig, what do you think?
Oh boy!
If we ain't playing Pitts in a tight end spot, we're not playing him in a flex.
And you can't trust Hollins with how much they throw there either. Cooks, he's coming back off of that injury. It looks like it was just a week, but how much is Dallas going to have to throw against Arizona? It comes back down to what we said on a similar question before: Reed or Dell. I'd go Reed myself. So.
There you go. 2 of us, 2 Reed, 1 Dell.
Should I put in Joshua Kelly or Mike Williams? This is for Chuff my dog.
My man.
Mike Williams for me.
But say, is Eckler still out, right?
Yeah, Eckler's
out, but I just don't trust Joshua Kelly to be what he was that 1 week.
Oh, yeah, last week he wasn't. Well,
but we're playing Minnesota, right?
We're facing Minnesota.
I trust a lot against Minnesota.
Well, they're both against Minnesota, so.
Well, right, but I mean, Joshua Kelly's going to get the touches, and as soon as we think that Mike Williams is going to, for some reason he doesn't, and that's frustrating.
That's a tough one. I mean, I'm probably leaning the running back just because Minnesota's been loving giving running backs fantasy points this year, but I see Craig's point of Mike Williams is the better play. I mean, he's the better player too. But I'd lean running back just because Minnesota's been giving up crazy fantasy points to running backs. Rick, did you say which one you're starting, Rick?
I mean, I think Mike Williams is always boom or bust, right? Like, that's just who he is naturally. He does get a lot more targets now than he used to, but still, it's not like he's putting up huge numbers. I'm going to go with Kelly just because I know he's going to get all the touches. Now, this is probably means that Isaiah Spiller is going to come in and get all the work and just, totally kick me in the face. But I'm going to go Joshua Kelly here and take all those running back touches. You have a floor typically when you're playing a bad defense like this, not when you're playing the Titans like last week. But this game, I'm sorry I'm not giving you guys my full attention, but I don't think Notre Dame's beat Ohio State since 1936. So,
second and goal at the 1 for those of you not paying attention.
Oh my God. I'm glad I'm not watching. I'm putting my phone over here. Don't tell me. Let it sit for a little bit.
I'm going Tua for this one. Sorry, Rick, but
no, I'm going Tua as well.
Tua, and then what are we picking? 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Chase, CD, Olave, Kyren. So
Olave.
2.
Ooh, Kyren and CD for me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I like Olave, but from what I've read, it sounds like he's likely to see Jair Alexander, which is a lot harder matchup. Chase with the probably backup quarterback, and just what we've seen from him this year, it's difficult. CD's had, even without them needing him a bunch, he's just been fantastic for the Cowboys. So give you CD and Kyren.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because week 1 against the Giants, CD saw 3-4 targets. I mean, but he caught them all and turned it into, 70, 80 yards, something like that. So yeah, I would agree. CD and Kyren are my pick too. But man, I hate that I would sit Jamar Chase anywhere. Like, he's one of those.
I do too.
You think you got to set it and forget it, but when you have CD, this is a good problem to have, right? So even if you do set him, you still got an elite receiver there to put in. So.
Yeah, you've got 3 elite receivers here. You've got 2 that are in better situations. And then you've just got Kyren Williams, who is getting all the rushing work and all the receiving work out of the backfield and all the touchdowns.
They just got rid of Cam, too.
Yeah, right. And Cam's gone. Like, he's getting all the work. So it's crazy to say. If you would have asked me prior to week 1 if I would have ever in my lifetime think that I would start Kyren Williams over either Olave or Chase, I would have called you crazy. But here we are.
Now's the time to pick up Ronnie Rivers because, if Kyron Williams gets dinged up like he was last year, then Ronnie Rivers is now RB1 in LA, which is crazy.
Isn't Zach Evans right there too?
Yeah, I think Rivers is RB2 though. I think Evans was depth at that point, but yes. Now is the time to make sure you got the backup because that's a lot of work.
Okay, this is for you guys. Logan Wilson, Warner, Anzalone.
Not what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started to say it, and that's why I stopped myself because I read it and I'm like, no way. And Levante.
So Levante David just hasn't done a whole lot this year. Even with Chicago. They played Chicago last week.
Sorry.
I think they played. Didn't Tampa play Chicago last week, Rick?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Even with that, I think he had like 3 combined tackles, which was a bit disappointing. Pete Werner's looked good. He's 99% snap share. He's had 8 and 7 combined tackles. Logan Wilson, he had 8 and 10, I think. And who's the other one? Anzalone, Detroit.
He's getting at least 60.
He's had some decent numbers too.
Yeah, well, he's had at least 60 snaps each of the first 2 weeks. I mean, he's seeing pretty close to 100% snap share on that defense. I'm leaning Wilson and Warner, though. Wilson's going against LA, which is normally pretty good to linebackers. And the same with Warner, although I wouldn't blame you if you chose Anzalone because he's had good production. I mean, depending on how your league scores, he's probably getting you double digits fantasy points from the linebacker position each week so far. He had 7 tackles and a sack last week against Seattle, and then he had 6 against Kansas City, 6 tackles. So
Wilson, I'm definitely starting. And who's Detroit playing again, Brad? Since I clearly can't remember these matchups.
Yeah, they're facing the Falcons.
Give me Anzalone then, because I think he's going to have a higher tackle upside than Warner. And Demario Davis is still there getting tackles too, which does limit Pete Werner a little bit.
Pierre says pick 4: CeeDee Lamb, St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Kirk, Godwin, and Lockett. For me, I'm going Lamb, Brown, Lockett. Easy is my first 3. And then I'm probably going with Garrett Wilson as my 4. They finally get, they're the 2 defenses that they played in the first 2 weeks are more stout than the Patriots. So I'm gonna trust in Garrett Wilson for another week, and then we're gonna see from there. But Kraig, you kind of look like you had a different idea.
I was about to say, it's crazy that he got targeted 8 times and only caught 2 of them, but still gave you 80 yards and a touchdown.
He had one huge play in there, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
I love Garrett Wilson. I cannot put that faith with Zach Wilson throwing the ball. I feel much more comfortable with Christian Kirk. When Zay Jones is out and how he's been targeted last year and then this year when Zay has been out. So I agree with CD, St. Brown, Lockett, but I'm going Kirk for the last one.
Brad, what did you say?
I was with you, Rick. I was Lamb, St. Brown, Wilson, and Lockett.
And with Zay Jones out, I won't really argue against Christian Kirk either. I understand the worry with Garrett Wilson because I'm worried long term, but I'm hoping. It's when you don't have Micah Parsons in your face, it's a different beast with anybody. I'll give him one more shot at it. Isaiah says pick 1 for the flex: Tutu, London, Najee, Jalen Warren, Lockett, or Judy.
Holy cow.
Lots of options here, but Lockett is the one that I trust the most.
It's between like Lockett, London, and Tutu if I'm just narrowing it down for the group that you have here. Probably Lockett for me too. Just he's never an exciting pick if you just go off of names, But like Rick said, he's just always producing. He's consistent. He's always higher up in end of the year, points per game and total points than people think he is because he has a couple big games and then he'll have a couple nice average games. But he's consistent. Like
he doesn't give you a lot of duds. Like, he might not have all big weeks, but he doesn't give you a lot of duds. He did earlier in his career, but the last couple of years, he's pretty steady, and then he's got that 35-point upside with 2 touchdowns and 150 yards.
And clearly, Geno trusts him.
Yep.
I mean, week 1, he saw 4 targets, caught 2 of them against the Rams. Week 2, he got 10 targets against Detroit, caught 8 of them. Because it was against Detroit, give me Drake London. I mean, I got to think that he has the more upside of them. You know, Lockett's going against Carolina, which isn't a great secondary, but they have a really good good defensive line that could really be pressuring them, which could mean that he needs to get the ball out quicker. So I'm a lean Drake London just because Detroit's secondary has been giving up more fantasy points to receivers so far through 2 weeks.
With London, I'm just afraid of them going back to, all right, we made him happy
100%.
for 1 week. We're not throwing the ball, that much to him again.
100%.
Yeah, my thing is like Lockett's still he's typically going to get his, but like we're talking about fantasy points for Detroit. Like there was even a lot of those left on the field on the first opening week, right? Like all those drops we saw. Pierre said his was PPR. I think we all stick the same. Kevin wants to know, would you trade Laporta and Hollywood for Goddard, have Hurts?
I don't think so.
No.
I wouldn't. Hollywood's going to get just too many targets. He's going to be a start most weeks unless they play just a super pass rush defense where you don't trust Dobbs to even be able to get the ball out.
And Laporta's getting back-end tight end 1 numbers anyway.
He's outscored Goddard this year too, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, that's 2 weeks. I think Goddard still ends up being one of the top probably 5-6 tight ends over the course of the year. I don't know that Laporta will be there yet, but listen, there's a lot of offenses out there right now that aren't where we expected them to be to start the season, and the Eagles have really kind of been one of those teams that has kind of started slow on offense. Pierre's is pick 2, Joe Mixon, James Conner, Javonte, Jerome Ford. This is easily Conner and Mixon for me.
Yep.
Concur.
Especially if Joe Burrow is out. I mean, they're going to lean on Mixon a whole lot more.
And if both go to 0, you'll have to buy that Packer jersey and wear it next stream. If both go to 0, I don't remember. I remember us talking about this, Marco, but you're gonna have to remind me. I talk about a lot of stuff on these for 6 hours every Saturday night and Sunday morning. We talked about that last weekend. He wanted to make a bet where I have to wear a Packer jersey, and I said I'm not buying it. If somebody supplies it, we can make a bet and I'll do it. But
I think I have a Favre jersey I can send you.
Kraig Reynolds or Kendre Miller?
Kendre Miller. I don't know that Kraig Reynolds really gets a ton of action, even though he will be available and in the game.
Zonovan Knight could come in there and get more touches for all we know than Kraig Reynolds. I'm going with Kendre Miller as well.
Yep.
Kevin says pick 4 for wide receivers and 2 flex spots. London, CD, that's the one we already had, right?
No, because Addison
no,
was an option.
No, it's just there's a couple guys in there. Okay, so London, CD, Amon-Ra, CD and Amon-Ra and Olave are in there clear, right? None of us are arguing against them, so it'll be between London and Addison for that last spot.
Correct.
I'm assuming we all agree there. Maybe Craig doesn't.
Yeah, even if Olave's seeing Jair Alexander, he just has a big playability. So
now it's London or Addison. Which one you going with there, Craig?
I'm going Addison. It's a better passing offense, and he's going to have more opportunities, I think, to get you more points. I know London probably, maybe not. London's probably the better talent overall, but I still don't trust Arthur Smith in that passing offense. It's really hard for me to buy into that, even if you saw one good week out of it.
Listen, I'm with you on Addison here. Minnesota's defense cannot stop anything. I mean, they're going to have to throw a ton, and their running game is putrid, right? So the only way they can move the ball right now is through the air, and I don't even think Cam Akers is going to dress tomorrow. I think he's going to be a healthy scratch until he gets
be naked
ingrained into there. and I don't trust Madison. That's for sure. So I'm going Addison here as well. I'll take the targets that he's going to get. And he's going to continue to get more ingrained into that offense as we go on anyway. Palm Tree Tunes, full PPR. Judy, Watson, or London? Lots of London questions.
I see London. I see France.
I'm going Judy here.
Against Miami?
I mean, Miami's going to put up points. They're going to have to throw.
Yep. I think I would agree.
I feel like I just contradicted myself on an old question that
we did this one before. We had this question, and you said London.
I feel like I changed my mind. I hate this.
This you talked yourself out of London.
Dude, well, when you get on, like, try doing 4 hours on Sunday morning when news is coming in and you're like talking to each other and you're talking each other into and out of stuff, and then you're like, it gets tough. But I think
your bets. We understand you're hedging your bets.
Well, whatever.
Ask it one more time so we can say Watson at one point.
Yeah.
Whatever we said, I've talked myself into Judy over London. Or Brad kind of talked me down on, or Kraig kind of talked me down on London, and then the Miami Denver thing, like Denver's gonna have to throw a ton.
And
so
Rick,
I changed my mind on that one.
Rick, it's not a question, but farther down, Sully's telling us to stop saying mean things about the Vikings that are 100% correct. So,
I mean, nobody has ever talked as bad about the Vikings as Sully does.
That's true.
Rahil Shah, 2 running backs and 1 flex. So we're sitting Madison.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh yeah.
and I don't even love starting Najee, but
he's got to bounce back though, right? I mean, the Raiders are not a great defense.
I don't know. Najee's not a great runner.
If he's going to bounce back, it should be against the Raiders. Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that. But Najee's not a great runner. Like, he hasn't been in the NFL at all since he came in. Why are they not throwing the ball to him anymore? His targets dipped half from year 1 to year 2. His touches remained, his attempts only dropped by like 40 carries last year, but the pass work went away. He has not averaged over 3.9 yards per carry in his career. He's just not that good of a runner. If they're not going to pass him the ball, it's really tough. But when your competition's Alexander Madison, then I'm going Najee. So Najee, Ramondre, who you guys playing in the flex?
Pickens feels good for me against that Raiders defense.
I like DJ more than I like Pickens, and I'm semi-excited about the Justin Fields playing more like himself and not like a robot, but give me Pickens.
I'm about to say, I believe it when I see it, right? That's the Kraig thing. You got to see it.
I'm going more. He had what, over 100 yards last week, and that's when everything was ugly. And again, we've seen the Bears do this. They look worse than this for the first 5 weeks of last year. It started ticking up in week 6 and on. They're changing stuff. They can't keep doing what they're doing. DJ Moore's got to get 10, 12 targets tomorrow. Like, if you have any chance, that's what DJ Moore needs. I'll take that over Pickens myself.
I'm just afraid that Chiefs defense is going to try to keep him out of the game plan for the Bears. And that Chiefs defense has been no joke. I mean, they gave up, 7 or 9 points last week. They gave up 14 points to Detroit, who we know just has an awesome team, because one of the Detroit touchdowns was a defensive one, I think, week 6. 1. So that Chiefs defense is a lot better than a lot of people are giving them credit for.
Yeah, I'm just going off volume there. Yeah. And it could definitely backfire, but I feel like they got to go to him early and often throughout that game. So unless it's a touchdown only league, I like him there. Dameon Pierce or Kendre Miller, full PPR. I'm going with the unknown here because Dameon Pierce has not been good so far this year. I'm going to go with Kendre Miller, who I literally was maybe my number 3 or 4 running back in this class. Looks like he's probably has a shot to get a ton of touches with everybody out ahead of him. So I'm going to go Miller here over Pierce. It's a little risky, though. I will say that.
I mean, it's risky, but Pierce just hasn't really done anything yet. I mean, 11 carries, 15 carries, getting, 3 targets a game. But, I mean, has he broke double-digit fantasy points yet this year? I mean, oof,
I don't think so.
rough.
I think he scored like 7.5 and 6.8 or something.
So, yeah, I'm okay. I'd go Miller. I fired him up in a few lineups just to hope for a, ceiling play.
I was trying to pull up the Jaguars' defensive stats, and I couldn't find them. But I think they've been pretty good against the run, too, so it's not like it's getting easier for Dameon Pierce against them.
Yeah, PFF's got them graded out pretty strong. I mean, they've got, 10 guys at 65 or better. 9 guys at 65 or better, so pretty decent.
Give me a shot on Kendrick, because it's not like Tony Jones has been a world beater there.
Mm-hmm.
No, that dude's bounced around since his first stint. Josh Reynolds, Elijah Moore, Warren, Tank Dell, Christian Watson, pick 2, thank you. Do you guys agree if Christian Watson is in, he is the guy to start first and foremost out of this group?
Come back from injury. I mean, yeah, he's probably. I mean, we don't know what him and Jordan Love's rapport is going to look like, but I'd be fine with him, and then Tank Dell would be my other one, I think.
Give me Tank Dell and Watson.
That's why, assuming this is PPR, that's where I'm going as well. Tank Dell, again, I only want in PPR leagues. If it's a standard or a half point, I might lean Josh Reynolds on that one. Full PPR, I like Tank Dell a lot, though. I think there's a lot of upside there. King Jack says full PPR, Ertz or Laporta, and RB2, Sanders, Connors, Swift, or Madison. For me, this is Ertz. The guy's getting 9 targets per game at the tight end position. And they're going to have to – he might have 15 tomorrow. Getting the ball out quick to the tight end is probably Arizona's best shot at not, literally going 3 and out the entire game. You guys all agree with Ertz over Laporta? Or
I do.
Yeah, probably Ertz.
Okay, so RB2, Sanders, Connor, Swift, or Madison.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I don't like Connor against Dallas, but I feel like they're going to give him a ton of action. And with it being PPR, I mean, like you said, the dump offs out of the backfield. I mean, it feels like
Sanders is getting PPR work. For me, I can go Sanders getting a bunch of running work and getting some PPR. I don't trust Swift. It'd be nice to know, but we just don't. If we find out tomorrow that Gainwell is out, then I go Swift. If Gainwell's back, then I think it's risky with either of those. They could just drop to 50-50. Well, it's not even going to be a 50-50 split, right? Because Boston Scott's going to be involved and get his, few touches. So I'm probably going Sanders, and I don't love it, but
yeah, I'm okay with Sanders just because he's averaging at least 5 targets a week so far through the first 2 weeks, and he was kind of dinged up. So I mean, he's fully off the injury report now against Seattle. So
Seattle
with Andy Dalton the quarterback, right?
Yeah,
is that where you're at too, Craig?
Sanders or give me Swift, but Sanders out of what we know right now.
Jay says, can you pick 2 to start in PPR? Kyron Williams, Mike Williams, Najee, and Amon-Ra.
I'm
kind of worried about Amon-Ra's toe injury. If he's playing, he's in there for me, just point blank. Unless they literally say he's running a, limited amount of plays or whatever.
He's questionable right now, but they're still pointing him playing. Because, I mean, he played with like a metal plate in his shoe last week or whatever crazy thing. He still caught 7.
I don't see how you sit him unless
6.
you just know there's a problem, just what he's shown.
Yeah. I'm going Amon-Ra and Kyron Williams here.
Yep.
Excuse me. Joshua says full PPR, pick 2. Higgins with a banged up Burrow, Kelly, Kirk, and Ford. Pick 2. So Ford's out for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably going Higgins and Kirk here.
Even though Kelly's going against Minnesota.
Yeah, but it's still Josh Kelly, and it's still Higgins and Kirk, who will probably get a ton of targets.
I mean, it's Kirk easily for me, but I have the same hesitation that you do, Brad. We were just talking about how there's going to be, if you were talking about Mike Williams versus Kelly, Kelly's guaranteed that work. Minnesota's defense isn't that great. It isn't that big of a difference between Kelly and Higgins for me. I mean, Higgins and Williams when we're talking about those situations. So
that's a valid point.
Give me Kelly and Kirk.
Yeah, because Higgins is a Monday night play, I'd probably go Kelly and Kirk just because I feel more comfortable that Kelly at least gets you decent. I mean, the floor is probably better, even though, gosh, I hate not playing Higgins, though. He's so good.
I mean, the thing is, if we knew that the backup for the Bengals was like Gardner Minshew or something, this would be T. Higgins easily. But like McCarron just hasn't been anything at the NFL. Browning is a complete unknown at the NFL level. That offense wasn't moving the ball when they even had Joe Burrow in there.
Right.
It's just hard for me to take Higgins given what
that's
we
valid.
know
You've
about
talked
him.
me out of it. See, this is one of those things I'm talking about. Like you've convinced me to change my mind. It sucks not starting your studs. You're probably 3rd round pick, in week 3. If all the issues with the offense was that Burrow just wasn't right, then maybe any backup is an improvement for that offense.
Could be, yeah.
Don't know though. So
right.
I agree. We know Minnesota's bad. We know Kelly's going to get the touches. Why don't we just go with what we know and play Kelly and Kirk? And it's safer. Higgins may have the most upside out of all 4 of these guys, but I changed my mind. I'm with you guys.
Does Minnesota play early? Do we know?
I'm assuming that's a 4:00 game. LA is normally a 4:00 game, unless it's in Minnesota. It might be 1.
LA is in Minnesota, so it's noon. Yeah, so never mind.
Okay.
If it was a later game, I was saying, I mean, see how your game is going for you, and if you feel you need those guaranteed points out of Kelly, or if you want to shoot for the moon with Higgins and feel spicy, but you don't have that luxury.
All right, we got to pick one out of Gus, Swift, and Connor. Kraig, who you going with here?
Baltimore is playing.
They're facing Indy, and that's that possible dealing with tropical storm game. So I'm probably leaning Gus.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say, I'm going Gus here. I love Connor, but I think Gus is a top 12 option this week with no competition unless Melvin Gordon comes back from the dead, which that's not a zero-sum proposition. It's not a zero-sum proposition. Wasn't it just last year where Latavius Murray and Devonta Foreman, or not Devonta Foreman,
No, it wasn't.
Freeman.
No.
Devonta Freeman was that last year or the year before? All I know is that both of them came back from the dead and were the Ravens running backs. So, I'm going Gus as well. So we got a 3-0 Gus. All right, Jeff. Have Akers and Pitts on my bench. Traded for Kittle, JSN, Jalen Warren, and Eli Moore, all available on the waivers. Should I switch any? I'm not dropping Akers. I want to see what happens here because Madison's hot trash, and I think Akers is at least an upgrade for Minnesota. You're starting Kittle, obviously. You can't start Pitts right now. JSN, Jalen Warren, and Eli Moore all available on waivers. I mean, I'm probably dropping Pitts for Jalen Warren here.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I love Pitts, and I've
Mm-hmm.
talked about how in Dynasty, I don't think you trade him. I still think you got to hang on to him and hope that at some point he gets to a better offense. But I don't see how you start him in redraft. They just don't care to use him in that offense. And I think we've had a large enough sample size to show that.
Sully, cover your ears. Get rid of Pitts. Get Jalen Warren.
Yep, it's so sad to say too, because I agree. Pitts is he was an all-world athlete, but obviously you get to the pros and you just don't know how it's going to work. And it's weird because the other guy that we thought was going to be that is like had a late career resurgence there last week with all his action he got.
We also have a super chat, just FYI.
Okay, so Francisco's going to be next. We're going to go to the super chat. That is Jacob Abraham. Says Hall, Najee, Warren, half PPR, running back 2 spot. This is the question. This is the tough one.
I'm still going Breece Hall. He's looked the best out of them.
I'm going Breece Hall as well, and it's not pretty, but he has a better shot of busting a 40-yard touchdown run than either of the other guys, in my opinion.
Yep.
Jacob, we appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for the super chat. Now I got to find my spot. That was this one, right? That's what I said?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Puka, Collins, Lockett, full PPR. Okay.
This is a crazy question. You think 3 weeks ago we'd have said Puka in your lineups, but man.
It's got to be Puka. I mean, the guy's averaging 17 targets per game. It's not sustainable,
Crazy.
But he literally has 35 targets in 2 games. He has 25 catches. He's averaging 12.5 catches per game.
And he's facing Cincy with a banged-up quarterback.
I think, Puka, you have to start right now, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how this trends, but obviously, Stafford is locked on to him. It's just too many targets not to put in your lineup.
Agreed. We also have another super chat when you got a moment.
Well, Craig, did you say Puka too?
I did not, but that would be who you'd have to go with in my mind.
All right, so Lucas is going to be next. Back down to Gazelle. Jumping to the front of the line. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. Flex 2, PPR, Warren, Pierce, Dotson, JSN, and Watson. I'm assuming this is Christian Watson here. That is another tip, guys. Make sure when you put in there, if it's a popular last name, let us know which one it is. I'm assuming, since this doesn't say Superflex, that it's Christian Watson, but just heads up there. So we gotta flex 2 of these guys. Dotson is the first one that I see that I'm for sure putting in there. And then for me, it's probably Christian Watson if he plays.
You comfortable with Dotson against Buffalo?
I mean, I'm not comfortable with any of these guys tomorrow, right? But I'm the most comfortable that Dotson's going to get action out of all of these guys. I mean, Warren's going to get some action. Pierce is going to get some action, but it hasn't turned into fantasy production. And Jigba just hasn't had any fantasy production so far. Watson is going to get action for Green Bay if he plays. Watson and Dotson for me.
What do you think, Craig?
I mean, Warren and Pierce are both going to get action, like Rick said, but Pierce hasn't done anything with the action that he's got. And what's that split going to be with Warren and Najee? We really don't know. You know, in terms of your pass catchers, if Watson's out there, they're going to try to get him the ball. He's a big play target. Speaking of guys that you only need one play out of to be worthy of a flex start. And then Dotson, he's been involved, and maybe not as much as we want, but he's still a big part of that Commander's offense that's moving the ball. So Watson and Dotson.
I'm fine with that. I will agree. Ooh, and
Jacob is back with another 5. Thank you very much. Thank you for the previous answer, he says. Najee London for a half PPR for a flex spot considering matchup. I mean,
London.
I'm going London here.
London.
I've never been a big Najee fan. I drafted him in 2 of my redraft leagues this year, and I'm going, why did I talk myself into this? And
I have Najee in a bunch of spots. I mean, I would love for him to go off this week, but
I just can't trust it at this point.
Yeah, I can't trust it.
All right. We appreciate you guys with that. Okay, so let's see where we were at here. I can't find it. I said Lucas, right? This one? Can Najee make a comeback against the Raiders? We've talked about this extensively. It's funny that we did literally go from the last super chat to this one. But I mean, if he doesn't do anything against the Raiders, he is literally a non-start until he shows something, in my opinion.
Agreed. Leagues where I trust him as my RB2, I'm putting him in because that's kind of what I have, but I don't like it. I mean, he really needs to bounce back, and it really needs to happen immediately.
I mean, talking about drafting him, Rick, I don't remember who the names were, but like Scott Fishbowl, he was one of them that we were talking about a lot in our RotoHeat chat, and I drafted him as my RB2. But he's become my RB3, thankfully, because Brian Robinson was my RB3 that I drafted.
Yeah,
that's been like a clear swap so far. So, yeah, Najee can make a comeback against the Raiders, but if he doesn't, then you've got a complete meltdown potential on your hands for the rest of the season with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. RotoHeat Sully says, hit that like button. Mr. Scampers, how you doing? I'll tell you what, man. Nothing excited me more than being in Canton and meeting Mr. Scampers. Thanks for jumping into the stream tonight, buddy. Ryan says Rachaad White or Gus Edwards at RB2.
Gus
Edwards for me as well. Okay, Lucas is trying to figure out my flex this week. Half PPR, Najee, Ford, Algier, DJ Moore. I'm going with DJ Moore.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, give me DJ Moore.
Lucky Yang says Tutu Atwell or Michael Thomas, Rachaad White or Josh Kelly. I'm going Michael Thomas and Josh Kelly.
Oh yeah, I would agree 100%.
Yeah, Michael Thomas feels like the easier answer for me. Rachaad White versus Josh Kelly. Rachaad White, I think, is a better running back, but he's got easily just a much worse matchup. So,
and let's take a moment to thank Michael Thomas for being a thing again, because I held him so many leagues, hoping that he would come back.
Brad, don't jinx it. Knock on wood if you got some available.
Yeah,
make sure something doesn't break in his foot.
Wake up the family. Knock on the walls. Whatever you got to do.
Wood has been knocked.
Okay, we got Mr. Scampers in here with the question. Half PPR. Sharbs, Roshan, Pirine, or Justice Hill? Justice Hill is out this week. Drop?
It says half PPR drop. I'm assuming we have to drop one.
Okay, yeah. I'm dropping Justice Hill. It's between him and Pirine for me.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. It's between him and Pirine. I'm probably going Pirine. But
I guess it's Justice Hill for me because it seems like they can just plug in any sort of running backs in there. We know Gus Edwards is going to be getting some of that. Pirine, if something were to happen, Javonte Williams, he's still the number 2 running back there. So I guess I'm dropping Justice Hill.
Baltimore's still a team that could add a Lenny or something. They keep adding these older running backs, like we mentioned before, the Freemans and Latavius Murray's and all of that. So I'm dropping Justice Hill here as well. I think Gus is better anyway. Big Trev says pick one full PPR. T. Higgins, Josh Kelly, Rachaad White.
Josh Kelly.
Yeah, I think you guys talked me add a T into Josh Kelly, and I just picked Josh Kelly over Rashad. So I think that narrows it all down. Josh Kelly for me.
It's a gross feeling, but yeah.
It is. It is. I'm throwing up a little bit, but
welcome to the dark side, gentlemen. We've got
there's where RotoHeat solely says quit saying mean things about the Vikings. Stuff with James says, is AJ Brown a top 5 wide receiver still?
Maybe top 10.
I mean,
for sure,
he's right. I mean, he's in that range, right?
Yeah.
And I always love playing a wide receiver the week after him and his quarterback have a discussion on the sideline about not getting targeted enough. We saw Hurts come out and try to hit him with 2 targets right after that discussion last week. AJ Brown's in that range. We have a lot of wide receivers in the league right now that you could argue are top 5, top 10 guys. So he's still up there. He's in that range for me, but I don't have the top 5 off the top of my head. I mean, I know the top 1, and that's Justin Jefferson, and 2's probably Tyreek Hill, or if you want to argue either which way. After that, there's a lot of guys in contention for 3 through probably 8 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally cover up Kraig. Where you
Nothing
at,
wrong
Kraig?
with that.
He looks like the guy from Home Improvement.
Wilson.
12-man, 0.5 PPR, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex, 6 pass TD. What trades could I make and for who? This is a very loaded question. I can already tell. He has Hurts, Ingram, JJ, Olave, Mike Will, London, Tony, JMO, Pacheco, Pierce, Kelly, Ford, Algier, Mitchell, Jamal, Will, Jeff Wilson. So you've got some IR guys. You need some help at running back.
Yeah.
So 6-point pass TD. You're fine with Hurts.
Do you try to trade Mike Williams for a running back? Will somebody even do that? Because I don't want to get rid of JJ or Olave, so it's like I feel good with London as my 3.
Okay,
and Mike Williams and Tony are the only 2 I'm willing to get rid of, though.
Here's my thing, right? Is that while I don't want to get rid of JJ, you can literally get 2 running backs and a wide receiver for JJ. That makes your lineup better. Now, if this was Dynasty, I would say you just hold, you reboot, and go into next year with JJ, right? But you can get 2 running backs better than Pacheco and Pierce, and a wide receiver for depth here, right? I think it's an option. I think you may be able to upgrade all those spots and actually be, net positive on weekly scoring because of the running back situation being as tough as it is. Now, if you want to wait, I don't argue you could go Mike Will and try to trade, but nobody's going to offer you a good running back for Mike Williams. Nobody's going to offer you a good running back for Drake London unless we see more consistent Drake London play, more consistent Mike Williams play. So you're probably going to have to trade Olave if you really want to upgrade the running back position. But you can see how Ford's going to do, but you're probably going to lose Kelly when Eckler gets back. Pierce and Pacheco, I don't think are going to be great starters. Trading JJ and just getting a haul for him in redraft might be the option here for me.
Oh, I hate doing it. I mean,
I
understand I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I would almost see. So you kind of have 2 ways to go. You wait this week, and you know Kelly's going to be in a juicy matchup against Minnesota, and then your other running back, you just pick whichever one you like out of the group. Probably Pacheco, maybe Ford as your other running back to start, and you see how this week goes, and then maybe you can make a move after that, or you see if somebody wants, a combination of Williams and Tony or Williams and one of your running backs for an upgrade. I almost want to wait a week though and just kind of and see how things go one more week in advance, but yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. JJ should get you just an insane haul.
Yeah, I mean, the other option for me is just see what you can get for one of those other Olave, Mike Williams, London, if they have a big game or something, if you can find a running back to try to be your lead running back out of that group and then piecemeal your RB2 and flex out of that if you want. But even with like J-Mo coming back towards the end of the season, hopefully your wide receivers are certainly stronger and you can manage getting rid of one of those for running back help.
I've ran enough leagues to know that to win the league, you do not have to have the top end scorers. You got to have scoring in all your spots. It's the total amount of points you scored, not who scores the most points as a player on your team. But to really upgrade, another thing you could do, right, is you could offer Tony for Roshan Johnson. Maybe it works. Try to target one of those running backs that hasn't popped yet, that has the opportunity to pop down the road. But how long can you wait, right? What is your record? Are you 2-0? You can wait a little bit longer if you're 2-0. If you're 0-2, you need to make changes fairly quickly. So that's a whole other thing that goes into it for me, is where you're at in that spot in the rankings so far. Yes, I think. Do you guys agree? Right now, I'm starting Hunter Henry over Goddard. Him and Mac Jones had a connection 2 years ago. They put a DC as the OC last year, and it all went to shit. But they're back to having that connection.
Agreed.
Yep.
Patty,
we also have a super chat.
Oh, Patty, you'll be up next. Logan says, full PPR, pick one, Nico Collins or Jacoby Myers. This is a good one. It's close. What'd you say there, Craig?
It's a fun one.
Which one are you picking?
I'm going Nico, just because he's the wide receiver one in Houston, and they should be throwing it. I mean, you should expect somewhere in the 8 to 10 target range for him, and he is catching a significant portion of those.
And he went to Michigan.
Go Blue.
It's definitely part of it. Could you imagine how big his love would be on Nico if he went to Michigan and played for Detroit?
I mean, it'd be ridiculous. I would have the Nico jersey.
Rick, are you going Jacoby?
I can't remember what I said earlier, to be honest with you. I feel like we had these guys in a question.
Times.
And I think I went Jacoby. I think I'm going Jacoby. Here.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I like the offense better, and it feels like they're really piecemealing their wide receivers together, although Nico has looked the most consistently good out of their wide receivers so far this year, and Jacoby is, secondary still to Devontae Adams there, but
who's got it better than us? Nobody.
Okay, so here's my question.
Coin for me.
Because we've got 40 in here watching. It's 11:30. If you guys need to dip, don't be afraid to say so. I know it's late. I know Craig tired, Brad tired.
Always.
So
let's do it.
I just wanted to say that, but what we're gonna have to do no matter what is we're going to have to shorten up our answers, guys. I mean, we've already covered a lot of these guys anyway. We can't keep rehashing them. So just so you guys don't, hopefully you don't feel bad. We've been live for about 2 hours. It's 11:30 where I'm at, 10:30 where Craig's at. So it is getting late, but we will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. live, me, Bryce, and Sully. So you can always come back tomorrow as well. If you want to jump the line, we are literally answering questions that are 28 minutes old at this point. So pick one, week 3, Shaheed, Dell, Burks, Hollywood, Jaden Reed. We're picking one, Craig.
One. Oh, boy.
You guys have been picking Jaden Reed, and I've been picking Dell when they're both in the question.
I mean, with Christian Watson playing, it's a little bit different, although we talked about he's getting Lattimore and, Jaden Reed, but there's still Dobbs there. I think with these options, it's one in PPR, give me Hollywood, because they're going to have to be throwing the ball, and it's sort of him, Ertz, and Connor. There's not really much else there.
I'm fine with that.
That's where I'm at as well, and it's tough because I really don't want to, but I will go with him as well. Trade Barkley for Breece Hall and Brian Robinson? Question mark.
In redraft, I'm absolutely
Redraft doing it too. Yeah.
I'm with you, Chef.
I don't even hate it in Dynasty. I'll be honest.
I
Well,
it's
debatable,
I mean
you know.
it's not the worst trade offer I've seen today, that's for sure.
I mean, there's a lot of people that would trade Barkley for Brees Hall straight up. So I mean,
Right.
Yeah. I think you're doing well there either way. I will take Brees Hall and Brian Robinson there. Yeah, I got offered Curtis Samuel for Keenan Allen today in a dynasty league. And they tried to tell me. They tried to tell me this is the best offer I can give, and it'll help you tank and not score enough points to win games.
yeah.
That's nice of you.
No shit, but still.
He's looking out for you.
Not even close. I want to bench Mac at New York. Is that crazy to do for Minshew in a 6-point pass TD, and to bench him for Minshew or Dalton?
With the weather, I would be concerned about Minshew in the passing game. I mean, if the rain and wind is as bad as it could be in Baltimore with the Ophelia up there, I'd be concerned.
Well, Baltimore's defense hasn't looked bad either.
So I would wait a week on that one, Scampers. I wouldn't be in a hurry.
Who's
Now, if you said that was Richardson, I would certainly be fine with that because he could just run it in.
I'm starting Mac out of these three this week.
Yeah, and I'm okay with starting Dalton in Scott Fishbowl if your option is Minshew or Dalton. I mean, I don't love either, but I certainly don't love what could be a.
Well, the question is, are you going Mac over either of those?
I'm fine with Mac over both of them. Yep.
Well, not fine with. What are you doing?
Well, yeah, I would go Mac over both of them. I'm
okay.
fine with that.
Well, when you say I'm fine with that, it sounds like you're disagreeing with us to agree with us.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
No, I don't hate it. And we also have another super chat.
All right, so this is the next one. The Ertz and Joku is next. Colin, we appreciate you guys. You don't have to come in and show off though. Full PPR, Joshua Kelly, D Swift, Kendre Miller.
Ooh. So Kelly's against Minnesota. I think I'm
sticking with Kelly here.
Kelly.
I'm sticking with Kelly.
Again, this isn't so much of we think Kelly's the best option out of this. It's just the matchup is just amazing.
Too juicy.
It's amazing, and we know, right? We don't know what Swift and Gainwell is going to be after the first 2 weeks when they're in the lineup at the same time.
And Kelly's produced in a good matchup situation this year already. So,
yeah.
So thank you again, Colin.
Where did we go?
T-Zench.
There we go. Right there.
Yep.
Ertz and Joku or Taysom at tight end, and Christian Watson, Kadarius Toney, or Tank Dell at wide receiver full PPR. I'm going with Ertz and Christian Watson.
Yep.
I am too. I mean, I think Tank Dell is a bit safer of a play, but Christian Watson's the better receiver and a better chance of getting you, I think, a bunch of points.
I wouldn't have really argued against you if you would have picked Tank Dell there either. Sean O, what's up, my dude? That's Sean O, ex RotoHeat team member. Thanks for coming by, buddy. And actually, somebody that I know personally, not just an ex team member. Ronaldo says, awesome. Thank you so much.
Always.
Okay, so I've talked shit about the Jerome Ford versus Tennessee Titans matchup and how I want to avoid the B running back versus the Titans, but I want to avoid DF running backs versus anybody, and that's what Madison is. I'm going Jerome Ford here versus the Titans.
Yep. Chargers
aren't really good against running back either,
worst.
Right?
The Chargers are middle of the pack. I'm going Madison over Ford with the matchup. I'm not starting a backup level running back against that Titans run defense. I'm just not.
I mean, I wish I would have seen this earlier. We could have showed it. Swift had 130 yards last week before he was contacted versus Minnesota. Start all your Chargers. Zay Flowers or Gus Edwards, possible weather.
Gus.
We had them in a question together. We all went Gus, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Freddie too says, first time here. Hey Freddie, nice to meet you. And he says Nico or Moss tomorrow.
Moss. If the weather is that big a deal and it is rainy, they're going to run the ball a ton.
Yeah, give me Zach Moss.
It's Zach Moss for me as well, but it's very, very, very close.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't blame you either way.
Scott says second QB, Mac Jones, Geno Smith, Jordan Love, or Kenny Pickett.
Geno.
6 points per TD. I'm going Geno here. Geno, unanimous. Joshua says, looking back at draft day, with what we know now, how would you have drafted? What do you think with what we know now was the best strategy?
I would have punted on running back with all these injuries.
I mean, I would have went 0 running back. I would not have drafted tight end early.
Yeah.
So I would have been heavy wide receiver early, and then just took a bunch of shots at running back.
Mm-hmm.
And
attack the waiver wire. I mean, because that's, you're getting starters off the waiver wire week 2 and 3, and it's crazy.
Draft Puka Nacua.
Yeah, I would have drafted Puka. That's for sure. People would have been like, "Why are you like?" If we could go back now, people would be like, "Why are you drafting Puka in the 3rd round?" Well, just wait till after week 2, then you'll know.
That's funny.
Lunar says easy,
like Sunday morning.
You can skip mine. That was when we were in a lull of questions. I was trying to come up with something. We got better things.
Yeah,
it is.
Because I was just telling us because that was Watson.
Considering Ritter over Stafford, am I crazy?
Yes.
Against Cincinnati, I'd be playing Stafford.
My roster is Mahomes, Pollard, Walker, Jefferson, Devonta Smith, Hunter, Love, Roshan Johnson, Pacheco. Should I sell anyone to improve? Okay, so I just want to say this, guys. Like, I understand your questions here, but it is a lot easier for us if you break them down. These are hard questions. They're loaded questions, not knowing your league, right? Like, how this team stacks against the rest of the league is tough to know. And then what types of trades we can make here to upgrade is hard to know because we don't know the league dynamics and who has who and all of that.
This is one of those, if you go into our Discord and you drop a league link, we can kind of jump in there and help you out a little bit more. But I mean, looking at the roster, I mean, he's loaded. 2 good running backs, multiple good wide receivers. You've got Puka, so you're going to get a championship this year no matter what, right? Like, everybody knows that Puka's going to win it all for you. Roshan we're a big fan of Roshan. I mean, you've got depth. You've got really good starters. I mean, I don't know how you really make this thing better.
I'm dropping the Discord link in the chat, so if you want to join, you can join that. You hit on Kyron Williams there, whether you got him off of waivers or not. So you added some depth there as a running back 3. You got Roshan that's going to come on as a running back 4. Pacheco's still a starting running back for the Chiefs, so we'll see what happens there.
And he should bounce back, right? I mean,
I don't know. I never thought he was that good, but we'll see. He was catching more passes than I thought. You've got the number 1 receiver in fantasy. Like, I mean, it's just so hard, but I think you're fine to stay where you're at now and then see what you can do. You have depth at both running back and wide receiver, and that's the most you can ask in fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kraig?
I concur.
Mama.
You said we wanted to try to keep these shorter, so.
Mr. Wilson. Well, yeah, but I can't even see you, so I can't tell if you're like looking something up or what. Do I start Puka this? Yes.
Unless you have Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson, I guess, at wide receiver.
What it would be? What the only if you could only start 3 wide receivers and you had Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, and what maybe Devontae Adams or CeeDee Lamb. Then maybe you sit Puka. But if you have those, you played in the league by yourself, and it doesn't matter anyway. Cap for Life says, gentlemen, 14-team PPR flex spot, Hubbard, Bourne, or Shaheed?
Shaheed.
Bourne
for me.
I mean, he got targeted a bunch last week. I know he didn't connect a much, but
oh man,
he's getting a ton of targets.
Oh, right out of his fingertips for a touchdown early would have made the whole day different. I think he's the best wide receiver on that team. Hubbard or Herbert? Yeah, I know it's bad. It's Herbert.
I mean, it's Herbert, but Hubbard I think is still got a role in that offense. So, it's not
but he doesn't have a role on your fantasy lineups. Not until Miles Sanders is out. Yeah, it makes sense. Najee has been complete disappointment. I have Warren has better days. Yeah, I mean, hopefully they just decide to use one of the two and not use both and ruin both of their fantasy values. 10-man PPR, so that must have been to the big one we had earlier. Yep. Freddie 2 says, pick 2 out of the 3. Moss, Swift, Nico. I'm going with Moss and Nico.
Yep.
Yeah. So as you can trust.
Craig's falling asleep on us.
I'm not falling asleep. I'm just
he's thinking.
Trying to think and make sure I'm not missing something here.
I'm trying to make sure I don't counter earlier takes that I had.
Yeah.
I have changed my mind a couple times, though. I ain't gonna lie. Rashad White or Zach Moss?
Moss.
Yeah. Sorry, Zach Moss.
I mean, Rick was joining you in the processing department.
No, I was waiting for Craig. I was making him go second so that I could say yeah. Yeah, I mean, Rashad White's the better running back, but the matchup sucks. I'm probably still going White. I don't know that I can talk myself into Moss over White.
Oh, isn't
Hospital Mike says 12-team.
White's facing Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, I know, but the dump offs, like the dump offs, he's still better. It's close, but you guys win. Moss twice. Me, White. I could probably lose. What percentage do you think someone will trade DK Metcalf for DJ Moore and Luke Musgrave if they said they are only looking for a tight end? They currently 1-1 and have Gerald Everett. Any advice how to sway their decision? So, first of all, and again, I know I'm wearing the Bears hat, everything else, but I want DJ Moore over DK Metcalf for the rest of the year.
Spicy.
I mean, the tough thing is with trying to trade Musgrave in a deal. I mean, right now he's just not getting a ton of targets. I mean, once he got like 6 or 7 through the first 2 weeks, I mean, if Musgrave was getting 4 to 6 a game, then you could argue that you're starting him over Gerald Everett. But right now, I don't know that you can argue that, even though it's not great for either at the moment. So, I mean, if you're trying to go after a guy like Metcalf, you really have to lean on he's building rapport with Love, and if you need help at tight end. But I mean, this owner, as you send him this deal, he's going to say, well, Everett's still going to be my weekly starter, so what does this do for me, kind of thing. So, it just depends on what that owner's looking to do. But I'm okay with you keeping DJ Moore and Musgrave and just playing it as it goes, and there'll be weeks that Metcalf outscores him, right? Because Metcalf is a big play machine, or could be, but there's weeks where DJ Moore gets you more because he's getting the short stuff, and then there's somewhere he can make it into a big play. So I'm really okay either way. Like, I would be fine staying with Moore.
Yeah, I mean, you're not if they're only looking for a tight end, you got to give them an upgrade, right? And Musgrave is not an upgrade over Gerald Everett, so that's the kicker there. They're not going to. Most people are going to perceive DK Metcalf above DJ Moore because of the way the first 2 weeks are going. But you got to give them an upgrade at the position they're looking for to convince them. That's your question. Is any advice on how to sway their decision? Give them an upgrade at the position they're looking to upgrade.
Yeah, in full PPR, I think I saw that Musgrave has half a point more than Gerald Everett. So I don't know that TE does anything for him.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, the Bears blew a coverage, and that's where 5.5 points for Musgrave came from. Was literally a blown coverage where he was wide open for like 46 yards. And just about didn't catch it because he turned around and was backpedaling, and literally there was nobody within 30 yards. But yeah, the Bears game, that one play is probably a third of his fantasy production on that one play so far. So, my running backs are Eckler, and those count the same, right? But I'm just saying the Bears, you kind of gotta put a curve on a Bears game. You're gonna score more fantasy points against the Bears. That's not the normal thing that you're gonna get. Same as Minnesota. My running backs are Eckler, Mixon, Brian Robinson, and Jerome Ford. Do I trade Ford for a receiver like Waddle? If you can trade Ford for Waddle, do it right now and don't look back.
Do it now.
I mean, good luck, but I mean, you might have to do Brian Robinson and hope you can get that, or if the guy thinks Eckler's coming back, do that. I'd have a hard time thinking someone takes that.
Yeah, worth a shot, though. But yes, if you can trade Jerome Ford for any wide receiver, that is pretty good. I would do it because I still think Kareem Hunt comes in and really torches Jerome Ford's fantasy upside. Savvy says start Taysom Hill or Kincaid, PPR.
I have this situation actually in one of my leagues. I can start both of them, and I may end up doing it because it's a weird league.
Is it the Superflex bonus?
No, it's the Kings IDP Classic that I was in.
I'm going Kincaid.
But Kincaid's like the PPR tight end 12, which is hard to believe. The year so far, it's a young year. But Hill is just so hit or miss. Yeah, he could just blow it out of the water to be the tight end 1 this week, but he's much more likely to be, tight end 30 or something like that.
Christopher says Hollywood Brown. Oh, I'm going Kincaid, by the way, just to throw that a 3 for 3 there. Hollywood Brown, Cooks, Tank in the flex PPR. Thanks for the advice. I'm pretty sure I went Hollywood over Tank. That's where I'm going Hollywood as well.
I mean, I can't blame you if you go Tank, but it's Hollywood for me.
I agree with that. Got offered Higgins and Kenneth Walker for CD Lamb PPR. What do you think? I mean, I honestly, in a redraft, I think you're almost getting Higgins for free here. Walker has been a top 3 running back so far. I do think that Charbonnet gets more work as we progress, but I wouldn't think that you have to add somebody as Higgins caliber to Walker to get CD Lamb. Even though Lamb is the best player in this deal, I'm taking Ken Walker and Higgins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Craig Wayne says Chris Godwin, Jalen Warren, Rashad White, and a 0.5 PPR. We got to pick 2. Chris Godwin is, gosh, man.
Against Philadelphia, I'd hate to stack these two because if they shut him down, it's brutal. But, I mean, Warren against Vegas, I mean, I don't hate it.
I'm not starting both Tampa Bay guys. I agree with you. If Philly, if Tampa Bay,
it's got to be Warren and White, right? Because Godwin's going to be getting Darius Slay, I would think, for most of the game, right? Or do you think they put him on Mike Evans?
I think Slay's probably on Evans.
Yeah, I would guess Evans as well. But they're going to move them around. He'll be on both of them probably a decent amount. This is tough.
With it being just half-point PPR, I think I lean the running backs just to hope that you get enough dump-offs to both of these guys that it gets you enough. But I think half-point hurts the receivers in this situation.
It's not like Godwin
hasn't really got much this year.
No.
Yeah, he's got 5 catches a game. 50 yards a game.
It's a whole lot different. It's a full point PPR than Godwin. I mean, you can make a case, but with half point.
Well, yeah, but I could say the same thing with White, right? And he's probably going to have less receiving yards than Godwin, with maybe about the same amount of catches. So I'm probably going Godwin and Warren. Because Rachaad White could literally have like 18 rushing yards and then, 40 yards receiving, but Chris Godwin might have 50 yards receiving and probably a better shot at a touchdown than Rachaad White. It's not pretty. This is ugly.
I'm going to go spicy. I would do the 2 Buccaneers.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, that's spicy.
I mean, literally, Warren is not, I'm not confident with any of the 3, just to say that. I wouldn't argue against any of it. Craig's in a very bad spot there. Sorry, Kraig. Things are looking up next week when 2 of your guys aren't facing the Eagles.
Yeah.
Mr. Scamper says, hit that like button. Chad Benson says, trade Kyren Williams for Breece Hall in PPR.
Well, if it's redraft,
I'm probably sticking with Kyren if it's redraft, to be honest. I don't think they're going to give Breece Hall all the work at any point. They paid Dalvin Cook. They're going to work them both in. Breece Hall is the clear best talent here. Let's not get it twisted. But Kyren doesn't have competition right now. He is the guy. He's getting all the work. I'll take that. I'll take the opportunity over the skill in this position, even though Breece Hall is my favorite out of the 2 long term.
And right now, Kyron's in the better offense.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. This week, yes. Colin says, thank you.
Anytime, brother.
Smiley says, got offered Nico and Roschon Johnson for Mike Evans. What do you think? I'm taking Nico and Roschon Johnson here.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'm keeping Mike Evans. He's quarterback proof.
How big of a difference do we have right now between Mike Evans and Nico?
Still a good amount.
Really? Because Nico's, what is he getting? Like 12 targets per game right now?
I'm still trusting the Buccaneers offense more. I mean, if we're looking at for PPR, it's not that huge of a difference. They have 6 fantasy points right now in PPR difference between the 2 of them, but I personally don't see that continuing. I don't see Nico staying up there that far this year.
I just think Houston has to throw the ball. Like, they are in that chuck it and heave down points all the time stage where Nico's going to continue to get a ton of targets. But I think Roschon is going to be, a guy the second half of the season that's top 18 running back on a weekly basis. I just really believe that kid is going to take over and be big down the stretch.
I guess that's where it differs. I guess I'm not convinced of that. The Bears better than I do. And also, I think it was Jeff Bell on Twitter had something about if the Houston continues at this pace, they're going to set the record for pass attempts in a season or something like that. I just don't see that continuing at that pace.
I don't see that, but I think Nico's the one that's insulated and going to get the targets because he is the veteran. I mean, obviously Robert Woods is too, but Robert Woods is not exciting anymore. But Nico's the guy that's going to continue to get targeted. And it's probably going to drop. But also, I don't think Mike Evans continues to get targeted the way he has. He's never got targeted this way in his life.
I will say that Nico's schedule the rest of the season is quite a bit more favorable wide receiver wise. I mean, Mike Evans is quarterback proof, but Nico's got, he's facing obviously the AFC South, so he's still got basically everybody but one of Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, Arizona, Denver. So it's not a bad schedule. So if you're safe at receiver, if you can stand to go from Mike Evans to Nico with that potential drop, but you needed running back, I think this is solid. But Mike Evans is clearly the best player.
I would agree with that. But I feel like you're, yeah.
Yep. And this one hurts for sure.
Yep.
Joshua says, cheers and salute to you guys. I have Hall, both Robinsons, Gus, Collins, Zay Flowers, and Sky Moore. Out of all those guys, who are you sitting? Full PPR, 2 flex. So we're just sitting one of these guys. It's
Flowers.
Flowers if the weather's super bad. Sky Moore.
Otherwise, Sky Moore, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know what that's related to.
Me neither. Freddie, thanks for answering, fellas. You got my subscription. Thank you, Freddie. We appreciate that. That is a big payment. SFB need a major swing. P. Ryan at Miami. CEH for Chicago. Taysom Hill at Green Bay.
If you need a major swing with a Scott Fishball scoring, Taysom Hill.
Right? Oh.
Yeah.
That feels really terrifying, but yeah, I mean that's where the big payoff comes.
Yep, that's tough. If not, if Pacheco's banged up and limited, then CEH would be my second option there. Yeah. But I think Taysom Hill is the big swing. Nitro says Kareem Hunt or Jerome Ford rest of season. I'm picking Kareem Hunt. I know that's not going to be popular. I think a lot of people are going to pick Jerome Ford because he was on the roster already. Brad and I had this conversation the other day. I think the only reason why Kareem Hunt wasn't on the roster was because he wanted too much money. And we saw this running back market poo in the offseason. But I think Kareem Hunt's going to be big for them rest of season, especially if they do improve that offense. Brad, you're going with Jerome Ford here, though, right?
Probably. I mean, I was getting roasted on the short for it this week, but yeah,
I'm not trying to roast you, me personally.
Oh, no. I mean, it's understandable. For me, it's Ford was on the roster. He's looked fine in this offense. Like, he's not amazing, but Hunt, when do the wheels fall off, right? Like, nobody else was sniffing around him. All the teams that brought him in, I mean, how many brought him in and didn't sign him? So it's like, I got to think that Ford has a better chance of being more productive the rest of the season.
My counter to that is if they weren't offering enough because he was on the open market, then the best thing for any of these running backs to do is to wait until this situation pops up. He got almost $4 million. That's what his contract could be. He leveraged that to his benefit when they didn't want to pay him before. So that would be my argument to he went to all these teams and nobody brought him in. Everybody was interested in him that needed a running back. He just waited until the best opportunity for him to get paid.
I will say he had his worst yards per carry last year. Was it because of the situation? Maybe there's a lot of dramas going around there last year, but I'm still leaning Ford. He averaged. I mean, Kraig, he had a really strong yards per carry.
I don't like either one of them, but I'm going Jerome Ford.
All right, I lose.
My man.
Romeo says need to start 2 full PPR. Pierce, Dotson, Devontae Parker. Dotson's my first.
Yeah, I'm about to say Pierce and Dotson feel like the plays here.
Parker and Dotson seem like the plays for me. Unless we find out Sauce is on Parker. If Sauce is on Parker, then I'll go
Game
Pierce.
Over.
But Pierce has done nothing. Parker's probably outscored him so far this year, and he only played 1 game.
So Parker has played, I don't know how many games he's played.
Parker did not play week 1.
He has 6 receptions on 8 targets, 11.6 points.
So Pierce probably has him by like 2 points.
I'm about to say. Where are you going with, Kraig? What are your 2 at that point then?
I would take Pierce over Parker. I would do Dotson and Pierce just because you're going to be getting guaranteed volume out of Pierce, and hopefully he turns around to do something with it.
If you fear Sauce versus Parker, then I would agree. Go Pierce. But I don't know who Sauce, if he's going to be on him or Bourne. And we probably won't know until the game. Sotober says, cool, thanks, guys. Thank you. Jesus says, I would get off Justin Jeff if Vikings fall to 0-4. Kirk will be traded. Final year of contract.
The contract is so hard to trade.
I don't.
That's a tough one.
I don't know who's going to take that on. Trade Alvin Kamara for Jacoby Myers and James Conner?
In redraft, probably.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Olave, Mike Williams, Gibbs, or Puka in standard. Puka.
Yep.
Too many targets. It's crazy to
so
say over
weird.
Olave.
Over Olave, I know.
Like, the only thing with Olave is he's probably getting Jair, and
yep.
I don't like that.
I mean, I know it's only 2 games, but anybody that's got 35 targets in 2 games and nothing changes with the offense, you probably just got to stick with them until it changes.
Yep.
I would get Jacoby and Connor.
Yeah, we just answered that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Scampers, dinosaurs. That's got to be for Rexy over here.
Yeah, it is.
Sexy Rexy. Ed Seat says, need one in full PPR. Zach Moss, Madison Pacheco. I'm going Zach Moss.
Moss.
Mike says, should I start Nico over Garrett Wilson? I'm still going with Garrett Wilson in week 3, but
I probably would too.
I'm going Nico.
Hospital Mike says, thank you for the very informative advice. No problem. And
always glad to
I'm sure if I had any health questions, you'd have an informative answer for me. Hospital Mike. Half PPR, pick 2, Godwin, Flowers, Wilson, Kelly. I'm going with Wilson and Kelly.
Yep.
Kelly's the easy one. I'd say Flowers, except for the weather. If the weather's fine, I'd go Flowers. But if it's coming down to Kelly and then Wilson or Godwin, I guess this is the line where I draw to go with Wilson.
Oh, this changes my mind.
Ooh,
I think I go
PPR.
Oh, yeah, I'm still going Wilson. He can just get it on one play for you.
Yeah, probably.
Tutu's getting a lot of action, too, so he's got to be in conversation.
Yeah, but the half-point PPR doesn't.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
It's exciting.
Ray says, hey, guys.
Yo.
I picked up Ravens D this morning and got Dameon Pierce off of the waivers in my standard league. Should I play Ravens D in bad weather, possibly versus the Colts with no Richardson at home, or Eagles? Go with the Eagles, right? So here's the thing when you guys are playing defenses, and this is what I tell everybody when it comes to DFS. You want to play against a team that's throwing the ball a lot. If the weather's going to be bad, yes, they could have fumbles and stuff, but you're relying on fumbles. I don't want to rely on fumbles. I want to rely on interceptions, putting pressure on the quarterback, and forcing them into mistakes. Eagles are going to put pressure on you. We've seen Baker under pressure throughout his entire career. No bueno. I'm going with Eagles easy here.
Yep.
Craig?
Yeah, I agree with the Eagles.
Seth says start Deshaun Watson or Matthew Stafford. Stafford for me. Sweep it. How are we doing? Well, okay, we're getting there, guys. Jalen Hurts, Olave, Metcalf, Joshua Kelly, Gus Edwards, Hawkinson, Christian Kirk, Jake Moody got me 12. And defense still in question. Montgomery, Saquon are hurt. Hunt, Pierce or sits for running back.
I think it's just more context to the defense question.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm still going with the same. Mr. Scamper says, thanks, guys. No problem. We appreciate you. We love you. And thanks for coming by tonight. Christian Washington benched.
He benched him from that lineup he's talking. So
gotcha. What type of receiver talent could I get in return from trading away Alvin Kamara?
Wait till he has a big game when he comes back.
I'm about to say I traded for Alvin Kamara in a league where I'm full of receivers. I traded Cortland Sutton straight up for him. But I'll take
Alvin. I'll take Alvin over Cortland all day, every day.
We'll give some context for what he could get, though. So,
yeah, definitely. I was gonna say you're probably looking in that DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy. What, depending on what we find out about Zay Jones, and hopefully he's not out very long. But Christian Kirk right now.
And you could get more from a team that needs running back help, right? Like if you're the guy who just lost Chubb, or you've been dealing with these other injuries. I mean, you should be able to maybe get a little extra bump. But I was trading with a guy that needed receiver help, so I wasn't going to give him one of my elite players.
I wait, right? Because Alvin Kamara is probably, with the injuries we've got at the running back position, probably in line for a top 6 to 8 rest of season once he comes back. So whatever you can get for Kamara now is probably less than what you're going to be able to get in week 4, 5, 6-ish range. Kraig, did you have something? It looked like you were getting ready to add something there.
Not for this. I'm just excited for the next question for you, Rick.
Any chance that Tyson Badgett gets a chance to start at QB if Fields continues? No. It won't happen. It's not going to happen. I've been arguing with Bears fans all week about it. Like, it's not happening. We'll see guys get fired. Now, if there's an injury, there's a chance. But right now, I mean, they brought Nathan Peterman back. He's the number 2 still. They've literally released him and signed him in the same day. It's weird, but that's Bears. But no, Tyson Badgett isn't going to start over Fields. If they do that, then the front office and coach have to agree that they totally messed up with last year's draft, right? And to start Badgett over Fields would be a huge admission of incompetence. So I don't think we see it unless Fields is hurt. Because then you're saying, listen, we took Tyson Badgett instead of Bryce Young at the number 1 pick and didn't move Fields while he had value. Sent 2 trades yesterday. Both teams that I'm trading away are thinking about them at the moment, and they are both different, so hoping they accept it possibly. We'll root for you, Ray Gamer.
Good luck.
No problem. Rob says, I have Puka, Addison, Lamb, Amon-Ra, and Olave. That's lots of targets right there. Sit 2. We got to sit 2 of these guys, huh?
Well, Addison out of that group for me.
Addison's sitting for sure.
I mean,
Half PPR could matter.
I mean, it's Addison and Amon-Ra because of the potential injury, maybe. I mean,
I'm going with Olave and Addison here. I think I just don't think you can sit Puka, even though it's half PPR. There's so many targets there. This is gonna be the week where he gets 4 because last week I wasn't on him. I was kind of waiting to see, and now that he had another 15 last week or 20 last week, he's probably gonna get like 6 this week and just really kick me in the groin area. But I'm starting Puka, Lamb, and Amon-Ra here.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I would probably just because the injury said Amon-Ra, but I don't hate it either way. I mean, this is a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're really deep at wide receiver there, Rob. Really deep.
Oh,
indeed.
Yeah, that's rough.
Feeling.
Also, just realized y'all go through every comment and not only the top pinned ones like every other channel. Y'all get a sub. Hey,
thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Now, I will say that I don't know how long we can promise that. You guys are bringing some heat. We're normally 30 to 40 minutes behind answering the questions, but we try to get to everyone in order. You guys, this keeps growing. It's going to be hard to answer every single one. Just to, be not.
And we
hope
haven't
this
even
is
seen Jaws.
I hope this is the real Jalen Rose. You're real too, even if you're not him. Just saying, but
not the NBA player. Yeah.
I'm a big Jalen Rose fan. I'm sure Brad is too, Michigan and all that. If you are, shoot me a DM on Twitter at RotoHeat Rick. Need to start 2. Flowers, London, Josh Reynolds. Thanks, guys. I'm going London and Reynolds here with the weather. Yep. If the weather ends up being clear tomorrow, then I probably go London and Flowers.
It doesn't sound like the weather's going to be clear.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that way. So London and Reynolds for me, unless we do find out something changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the weather, you said Flowers, like you said.
Freddie says, what's the logic of starting Nico over Swift PPR league? Okay, so here's my logic, right? Gainwell was the clear number 1 in week 1. Swift, again, had a big week in week 2, but the Eagles aren't just going to give up on Gainwell. They're not just going to sit Gainwell, give him no touches. Right. Minnesota's absolutely horrific on defense. As Sully, a Minnesota Vikings fan, said, Swift had 130 yards before he was contacted. What did he have, 175? So he had 45 after contact. So I need to see more from Swift. I know Nico's probably going to get 10 targets tomorrow.
Certainly possible.
Anything to add there, guys?
Nope. You nailed it.
No, I agree with that.
Flip side says 20-team league ESPN format. I'm having trouble deciding if I play Kendre Miller over Khalil Herbert this week. What do you think I should do? I'm playing Kendre Miller over Khalil Herbert myself.
I would, especially with the thinking that Roshan continues to eat into that workload. I mean, why not see what you got with Kendre and go big?
Kendre could get all the work, or he could just get a little bit. I don't know. It is risky, but I'm going to take that upside. I think there's more upside with Kendre Miller.
Yep.
I have to head out, guys. I got a kid waking up that I have to go get to.
Nope. So, you're fine. We're about done with these questions. Brad and I can knock these out. We appreciate you,
brother.
Have a good night, everybody, and good luck in your games this week.
Same to you, buddy.
So with that being said, we both agree.
Start Stroud or Fields in week 3, 4-point passing touchdown. It's still Fields.
Stroud. Oh.
Really?
Dang, we don't agree. Who's Stroud facing? Stroud's facing Jacksonville. I mean, you can certainly pass on that. Who's Fields playing? Who's Chicago playing?
Kansas City. Fields he's running the ball more, baby. It's Fields still.
I don't love either matchup enough, but I'd lean Stroud just because they've been throwing it a ton.
G Money says Madison, Pacheco, Pickens, Thielen, 0.5 PPR, 0.5. Sit 1. I'm sitting Madison.
100%.
Unless Pacheco looks like he's gonna go, but
especially in Chicago, there should be some action for him there.
Yeah, but Madison's trash, dude.
Yep. Yes.
Goddard or Taysom Hill? It's Goddard.
Yep.
Seth says, and last but not least, thank y'all. Thank you. We
brother.
Appreciate you guys. We really do. We really appreciate you guys. Blurpy says pick 2, Rashad White, Connor, Joshua Kelly, A.J. Dillon, only if Jones is out. So A.J. Dillon's been pretty poo. I'm going Connor and Kelly here.
Yep. 100%.
And guys, remember, if stuff comes up in the morning, I will be live with Sully and Bryce from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time, right up until lockout. Moss or Kelly? I'm going to go Kelly in that matchup.
Yeah, Minnesota's just giving up too many points.
G Money says sit 1 and 0.5 PPR. Hollywood, MT, Tank Dell, Sutton. I'm sitting Sutton.
Sutton. Yep, I'd agree.
Jew Williams says full PPR. Start 2, Mostert, Gibbs, ETN. You got to go with Mostert and ETN this week, but going into week 4, we may be saying Gibbs and ETN or Gibbs and Mostert.
Yep.
But Mostert and ETN this week. Start 1, a banged up Amon-Ra, Nico, George Pickens. We're starting one of these. Yeah. I'm going with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I think you got to start your stud.
Pick 2.5 PPR. Pittman, Mostert. What I'm leaning with, Kendre, Ford, Dotson. I'm going Pittman and Mostert.
Pittman, Mostert. Easy.
Rob says, who would you trade away out of Lamb, Amon-Ra, Puka, Olave, and Addison? I have Ryan Robinson, CMC, and Gibbs. I have Purdy and Laporta.
Right now, I mean, you're getting good production out of all those running backs and those wide receivers. You got a playable tight end who's probably a TE1, potentially week in and week out. And then Purdy, I mean, I wouldn't be doing any of it. I'd be laughing at the other guys as you're winning every week.
I mean, if Amon-Ra didn't have the injury question around him, I might look at that and go, let me see if the Justin Jefferson owner will take Amon-Ra and Addison or Amon-Ra and Puka for Justin Jefferson. But other than that, like, it's going to be hard to upgrade. I am a fan of keeping an eye on the Cooper Kupp news and what they start saying, because I do want to trade Puka before he comes back, because that'll be his peak value for you in your lineup is before Kupp comes back. So I do want to keep an eye on that. Addison could just get more and more valuable as the season goes on. I think Puka is obviously there's going to be some regression. 17 and a half targets per game through 2 games, not sustainable. Just not.
Setting NFL records this year.
Yeah, he's on pace for like 212 receptions. So that means he would be on pace for like 260 targets or whatever the math is. Not sustainable. So he's going to come down, right? So your best time to sell is now on him. But you don't have to do anything. Your team's pretty good. Gibbs is going to get more and more involved. You don't have to do anything. But Addison and Puka would be the ones I'd be looking to trade unless you can get JJ. And then I would think about doing an Amon-Ra or an Olave and one of those other guys if they would do that. I mean, if they said, I'll give you JJ for Puka, Olave, and Addison, I'd consider it if you're only starting, 3 receivers most weeks. You've got flexes at running back. So, but I like depth too. Speaking of field, CJ Stroud has more 300-yard passing games in the NFL than Stroud does. I think he has the same exact amount.
Go Tyson Bagent. I love it.
I know what he meant, but no, that's fine. I know what they meant. There's a lot of people try to get me triggered. I'm not going to do it. It's too late at night. It's almost 12:30 in the morning. Dak or Howell? Dak.
Yeah. Although I love Howell.
This is interesting. Start one. Njoku, Hill, or Ferguson? I mean, I'm probably going Ferguson.
Yeah.
Njoku just lets me down all the time, man.
Every time.
Njoku's just a letdown.
Well, and Ferguson's been getting okay targets. He's getting 4 and 7, I think, so far. So.
Carlos Goat got offered Barkley for A.J. Brown, half PPR. My running backs are Aaron Jones and Miles Sanders. My wide receivers are Ridley and Tyreek.
Ooh.
What do you guys think? I'm keeping A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I don't. Barkley's hurt. You don't know exactly what that's going to look like rest of the season. I'm not.
It's a high ankle sprain. That's not bueno.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Big Taz says Tank Dell or Reynolds. And full PPR, I'd probably go Dell. Do what?
I was going to say, you've been leaning Reynolds, so I was.
Well, they were half PPRs, though.
Oh.
Yeah, and full PPR, I'm fine with it. I'm fine. I'm good with either of these guys. I think they're both good options. But in full PPR, Tank Dell might get another 10 targets. Reynolds might get 6, but he's got touchdown upside that Tank Dell doesn't have. That's why I like him in 0.5 PPR, first PPR. Don't get rid of Puka. Go and get Kupp. Don't get rid of Puka. Go and get Kupp. I don't want both of them at the same time. If there's any offense you want a piece of this year, it seems to be the Rams passing game.
Well, they're passing a ton.
Last one, I promise. Kelly or Nico?
Kelly. Against Minnesota.
Everyone's saying sell Puka before Kupp comes back. Everyone, don't do it. Instead, go and get Kupp because there's no guarantee. Listen, we talked about this earlier. Kupp that comes back isn't going to be the Kupp from before. Like, if especially if this is a degenerative hamstring issue, he's probably not going to get the targets that he got before. Puka's going to take them from him. I don't want 2 guys that are eating into each other. I would rather have neither and get max value out of Puka. I also think Puka might be the biggest sell in Dynasty history, or at least since I started playing.
Well, and Kupp's not a guarantee to come back in week 5 yet anyway.
Yeah, we have no idea when Kupp's going to come back.
Right.
Lost Dobbins and Chubb ending up trading CMC and Puka for A.J. Brown, Jacobs, and B-Rob Jr. Good trade. Ended up trading CMC and Puka for A.J. Brown, Jacobs, and B-Rob. I would have kept Puka and CMC here.
Yeah, I mean, if at the end of the year Puka's come down to earth and dropped off quickly, then this looks like a good trade for you. If he continues to stay sky high and finishes with 150 plus targets, I mean, maybe it doesn't really look great for you. But B-Rob's been better than advertised, and Jacobs should be fine. A.J. Brown is a set it and forget it wide receiver, so I don't hate either side.
My issue here is you're taking a huge downgrade at running back, right? Like CMC, as long as he's on the field, is huge. Jacobs just had a 9-carry -2-yard rushing game.
Not look the same, that's for sure.
It has not looked the same. Now, I expect it to get better. I mean, I could see this one going any way. I would have stuck with CMC. I would have looked for better options. If I'm trading CMC, I want I mean, you got AJ Brown. I can see either side of this. It's not terrible.
It's not bad either way. I mean, it's fair.
Everyone thinks that people taking Puka in trades are the suckers. I never said they were suckers. I said there's no way that he can keep this value. There's no way. It's literally like way over historical high end. Like when it comes to targets and catches, like it's just not sustainable. And Puka and Kupp together, I don't think is good. I don't want both at all. Start the Browns D versus the Titans or the Jags D versus Houston. I'm guessing you'll say Jags because the Texans will be passing more. Thank you. That's where I go. Jags can put on some pressure. And you're looking at a rookie quarterback on the other side. I know Tannehill can throw some interceptions like he did in week 1, but you're probably going to see a slow run game with Browns versus Titans, and that's going to eliminate your opportunity for sacks and pick sixes and all of that. So I do lean Jags here.
Yep.
No significance with Addison playing Chargers. High scoring game. Hope he'll put up some Puka numbers, but wide receiver 3 may not top snap shares over my other wide receivers. I'm 1-1. I don't remember exactly what that question was.
So he was the one that had all the really good receivers, and it was talking about trading away. You know, so he had Lamb, Amon-Ra, Puka, Olave, and Addison, and Brian Robinson, CMC, Gibbs, and Purdy and Laporta. So,
Addison was my first one out of that. I just think the other options are way too good. Addison may have a big week versus the Chargers, but
it's certainly possible. They're going to be throwing the ball a bunch.
Great options there. It's called Puka Insurance. I don't think that's called insurance, right? We don't know what Kupp's going to be when he comes back. I mean, they sent him to specialists for a hamstring injury. We don't know. We haven't seen this situation very many times.
Yeah, that's a big concern.
Concerned with Puka playing Monday night and being questionable. If he's not playing, I wouldn't be able to bench him since all my other players play Sunday morning. It sounds like he's going to play, but if that does worry you, then don't take the risk. I think that's where each of us are different.
But you have enough good receivers, though, even if you do want to sit them, right?
Yeah, but I think that's each individual's personal preference, right? I'm a risk taker, so I'll take the risk and the hold. He had the same injury before last game, too, and he got 20 targets.
Exactly.
This isn't a new week 3 thing. He had this before week 2. Just if you didn't know, he did have it. Everyone on my team is for sale for the right price except CMC and Pollard. People crazy, man. Again, there's still trades that make sense to trade either anybody for, in my opinion. In any format, there's trades that can be made. I hate to comment about the Puka again, but even if you cut 20 targets in half, 10 targets is pretty swell to me. I just think they can coexist. I'm not saying they can't. What I'm saying is that if he goes from 17.5 targets to 9-10 targets, while it's still good, you're never going to have a chance like you do right now to capitalize on Puka. And if he's only getting 10, the touchdowns haven't been there, right? He doesn't have any touchdowns yet, does he?
No.
Him or Tutu. And they're getting what, like 28 targets combined per game? Mm-hmm. And there's no touchdowns there. So it's tough. If those targets come down, the catches, the yards come down, and if the touchdowns don't go back, then you're losing a lot of value there. And That's just me. Hey, we all have our preferences. Mr. Scampers, you the best.
My man.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you. All your advice is helpful. That's all we want to do. And for the last question, lineup is Hurts, Jacobs, Robinson, AJ Brown, Waddle, Lockett, Hawk, Moss, Kelly, and Tua as the second flex 2-0, and Chubb, Dobbins took a big hit and running back hand to look at bigger picture. I mean,
it's a good starting lineup.
For losing Chubb and Dobbins, you're in a really good spot. That's all I'll say. For losing those two, the ability you still have at running back with Kelly, Moss as backups, and we don't know how long Eckler is going to be out. You have Jacobs and Robinson. Hopefully Jacobs gets better, right? Robinson's been good, and he's getting worked in the pass game, which we didn't see coming. At least I didn't see coming. So I think you have a shot there. Moss, it'll depend. What's going to happen with JT? Do they really entertain moving him or not? We'll see.
All these running back injuries, they certainly could.
Absolutely. All right. That is going to be it. A nice little 9:30 to 12:30 stream here. Like I said,
the old days.
Yeah, 9 a.m. I'll be back. I'm looking forward to it.
Except you're gonna have Bryce and Sully, so it'll be good times.
Yep. I'm just gonna be tired, but just appreciate me, please. If you haven't, hit that like button, subscribe. Again, I appreciate all of you sticking with us. Still 30 of you here watching at 12:30 Eastern. We'll be back answering questions for 4 more hours in the morning. You guys have a good night and good luck on Sunday.
See you.